Hey guys, and welcome back to another tier list video. Today we're going to be ranking every Pokemon card set solely based on their names. And it's a very riveting idea, I know, and definitely a very original one, again, I know. But it is something that I thought would be a fun time killer, I guess, I want to do it, I want to film it, and maybe, just maybe you want to watch it. This is definitely going to be a video that's not very visually intensive. Like I'm not going to be putting images on screen while talking. So if you wanted to just listen to this in the background while you're doing chores or work or whatever, you are not missing anything. I can promise you that. Also, in terms of ranking names, obviously it is super subjective. We are ranking my favorite adjectives and nouns here and how cool they sound together. But not only am I just ranking the names on how cool of a name I think they are, but I'm also going to be ranking them on how well I think they fit the set. Like one of these sets can have a cool name, but then the name doesn't really apply to any cards inside the set. So it's kind of like two different things we're looking for here. Like, does it make sense as a name considering the cards on the inside? And also, is it just a cool name? Now, the names change over time. So, like, base set, Neo, basically anything Wizards of the Coast, right, is usually just one word. Or, like, Neo, one word. Versus, like, Sword and Shield battle styles. That's like 4 words versus just Neo Revelation. So, obviously there's going to be different kinds of sets in this video, but I do think it is an interesting conversation. I've also go ahead and thrown in all of the pocket sets as of filming this. Currently it is June 1st of 2026, so the newest set out for pocket is Paradox Drive, and then the newest set yet to be released but we know of in the real card game is Pitch Black. So that is all the ones that are going to be covered in this video. Who knows if it does well and in like 2 years I want to make a little sequel to the video. I might with all the new sets that came out. Also, just before we get there, I know that there's no Sandstorm. EX Sandstorm was the second EX series set. For some reason, the PNG, like any of the ones I tried to upload, just refused to upload. So I guess it's just not going to be part of our tier list, but I'll talk about it first anyway. Actually, no. I'll talk about it as it comes up because these are all out of order. You could probably tell, like, it goes like Plasma Blast, Breakpoint, Sun and Moon Base. Like, obviously, those sets don't go right one after each other in, like, the chronological timeline. But I am going to be ranking these based on when they came out. So I'm going to have a list pulled up on my phone, and I'm basically just going to be reading them off of that and then dragging the image on there. So we'll cover Sandstorm when we get to it, and I'm sure there might be a couple others that just didn't upload for some reason. But we will, in fact, be talking about every set ever made. Speaking of, let's talk about base set, shall we? So base set and or the Pokemon trading card game is it's a fine name. I mean, what else would you call base set? It's the first set ever made. The only name that really makes sense to call it is Pokemon trading card game or base set because you can't call it like battle styles, it has to be the Pokemon trading card game because you're introducing people into the format. So I mean, like, I'll give it a C. C for me is like neutral, like I don't hate the name base set, but also it's base set. If we're going off of names, it's perfectly fine. Jungle, though, the second set ever made, Jungle is what do I think about Jungle? I think like the one word Jungle and Fossil are definitely some of like the least interesting names to talk about because there is one name sets in the future like Aquapolis or Skyridge, but those are like fancy made up words. Jungle quite literally is just jungle. And yeah, I mean I can look at jungle right now and sure there's a lot of grass types in the set. You have like Scyther, Vileplume, Victory Bell off the top of my head. Um but a lot of the set just isn't grass types. Like, sure, like Pokemon like Mankey, right, are usually found in jungle-like areas in the Pokemon games. But then you have Pokemon like Rapidash or Seaking, These Pokemon don't really fit the jungle aesthetic. So, honestly, jungle might be an F tier. I think it's just not a great name for a set, and I get it, it's the second one ever made, they're still learning. But, like, it's just not very exciting. Fossil, on the other hand, is arguably even worse because Fossil, in Gen 1, there's what, 5 Fossil Pokemon? There's the Caputo line, there's the Ammonite line, and there's Aerodactyl. And yes, all of them are in this set. But then all the other Pokemon in the set, you have like the legendary birds, you have like the gay Dragonite with the rainbow in the background. Are any of those really fossils? I would actually argue that that's even worse of a name than Jungle. Base set 2, I know we're not off to a good start here, but base set 2. Listen, I could give a pass to base set because it's the first one ever made, but base set 2, it's not even like the Pokemon Trading Card Game 2. It's base set 2, so they're officially calling it base set 2. But base set is a term in every card game that really just means the first set, whether it's the first set of a new era or just the first set ever. So calling something base set 2 just doesn't make any sense. I'm almost tempted to bump Jungle and Fossil up a tier because those are names that apply to Pokemon in the sets. Base set 2, what does that give me? It gives me nothing, really. Genuinely nothing. Team Rocket, though, the last set of the classic era. I don't hate the name Team Rocket, actually. Obviously, there's Pokemon in the set called Rocket's Blank. Like, you have, like, Rocket's Persian, right? That's, like, one of the most popular ones ever. Actually, no. I just clicked on the set to look. That is incorrect. This was actually the Dark Pokemon. See? Sometimes I just start talking and I have no idea what I'm talking about. Rocket Pokemon, I believe, didn't come out till EX Team Rocket Returns. Dark Pokemon. Cool gimmick. Makes sense. It's a little bit, like, stereotypical, like, oh, Team Rocket's evil, so all the Pokemon are dark. When one of the original Pokemon anime episodes was like, oh, Pokemon aren't evil, their masters are. That was, like, the one where they could talk, right? So I feel like calling the Pokemon Dark Weezing or Dark Arbok, it doesn't really fit. Like, it fits Team Rocket because, yes, Team Rocket's evil, obviously. They're not the good guys. But the Pokemon themselves aren't the evil ones, it's the trainers. But that being said, it is leagues above Fossil, Jungle, or Base Set 2, definitely. Honestly, I think it's fine. I think it explains what the set is. The dark Pokemon are explained by the name Team Rocket. It's just not very exciting. And I have to look up which one comes first, Gym Heroes or Gym Challenge. Let's see. So I believe, let's check the dates on these. Gym Heroes came first. Gym Heroes. Spoiler alert, I definitely like Gym Challenge more. We'll talk about that one in a second. But Gym Heroes. It's 2 words. It's not just Jungle or Fossil. Gym Heroes. Honestly, I think it's pretty good. Gym Heroes. I think it gives you the idea of what the set is. Because all the Pokemon in Gym Heroes are owned by a gym leader. Right? There's not even like any Elite Four or Champion cards, really. They're all Gym Leaders Pokemon. So actually, I might bump it up to. I don't know if I like the name that much. Actually, I'll tell you what I'm gonna do. I'm gonna put Gym Heroes in B, but I'll put Gym Challenge in A. I just like the name Gym Challenge more because that's what it is in the game. It's the Gym Challenge. That's what they officially call it when you go on your quest to get all 8 badges. Gym Heroes feels a little bit more generic, like heroes. Like, we just had Team Rocket, which is obviously the villains, but at least Team Rocket is, like, the Pokemon equivalent of villains. Heroes is just, like, the most, like, blanket nothing word they could have used for a gym leader. But yeah, like I was saying, both of these sets only feature Pokemon from gym leaders, so it's either, like, Brock's Mankey, or Misty Staryu, or Lieutenant Surge's Voltorb, and so on and so forth. So I think the name Gym something makes a lot of sense if it's all gym leaders. So actually, one of the better names we've seen so far. And that's it for the original series. Not a great track record, to be fair. If we're going off of, like, averages, I only put 1 in A, 1 in B, and then the rest are C or below. So, yeah, not a great start, but with Neo Genesis, there's definitely more to talk about. First off, what is a Genesis? I know, like, Sega Genesis, and I've heard it used in stuff before. But, like, I don't know if I actually know what the word Genesis actually means. So let's go ahead and look up the Genesis definition real quick. Genesis refers to the origin, creation, or beginning of something. I mean, honestly, it's the first Neo set. If Genesis is like the origin of the Neo series, I think that actually makes a lot of sense. Um, yeah, it's the beginning of a new era, beginning of a new generation. Yeah, no, that's a pretty solid name. Obviously, Genesis isn't gonna apply to any Pokemon in the set. Like, I think this is the set with the Lugia. Yeah, this is the set with the Lugia card that everybody goes bonkers for. Um, but even then, they're not really like the creation of anything. We're not at like Gen 3 or 4 yet, where those legendaries create stuff. Lugia is just like the master of the sea, right? And Ho-Oh is the master of the skies? I honestly don't know if that's correct at all. But Neo Genesis, that's actually a pretty good name. I'll give it A. I definitely like Gym Challenge more, but knowing that Genesis means to like begin or start something, I think that's way better than just calling it Neo Base Set. Actually, I think that's a pretty cool name to call Neo Genesis. Neo Discovery, though. What are we discovering? Because obviously Neo Discovery is the second Neo series set, but honestly, I think Neo Discovery would have worked better as the first set. Now, I like Neo Genesis more as a base set name, but Neo Discovery, it's like we're discovering Generation 2 Pokemon, which I guess is correct. This is probably the first set that a lot of Pokemon like Wobbuffet, or even the Gen 2 evolutions, are discovered in. But at no point when I'm playing like a Gen 2 Pokemon game do I feel like I'm discovering these new Pokemon. Now, it probably doesn't help that the games are like, what, over 20 years old at this point, so I'm not really like, oh my god, these new Pokemon, Smeargle and Politoed, you know, but Neo Discovery, I think it works. I think it's like a B. I think it's a decent set. Honestly, I like it more than Gym Heroes, but it's just kind of there. You know, it doesn't really do a lot for me. Neo Revelation, similar thing. What do we have a revelation about? This is the one that has like the legendary beasts in it, and like Ho-Oh has their first holo card in the set. But I'm looking at the list. It's like Kingdra, Sneasel, Flaffy. You know, the rest of the set's kind of generic. So I feel like Neo Revelation. I guess it really depends how it feels coming off the tongue. Neo Revelation. It doesn't strike me as like one of my favorites. Neo Revelation. Like, to have a revelation is to like suddenly understand something that you didn't before. You're like, oh my god, suddenly this makes so much sense, it clicks. I don't see how that really applies to any of the cards in the set. I think it's a fine name. I'll put it top of C, but it's not my favorite name. But our last Neo set we have here is Neo Destiny. Cool word, Destiny. Definitely one of the coolest words, singularly, that we've had so far. Maybe other than Genesis. I do like Genesis now knowing what it means. Neo Destiny. Obviously, it's the last one, so you know you can argue this is the set that it was always destined to be. It's the last Neo set. We have Dark Pokemon back. I'm looking at the list again. Do we have Light Pokemon? We do. We have Dark and Light Pokemon in here. So I guess you could actually argue that it's like Destiny. Like, what side will you choose in the battle? Will you choose like to be evil like Team Rocket with their Dark Pokemon, or will you be like a Light Pokemon trainer where you use these Pokemon only for good intentions? Honestly, knowing that, I think it's kind of a sick name. I'll put it top. I'll put it below Gym Challenge. I think Gym Challenge just works better as a set name. Neo Destiny, though. I think that's actually a really cool name for a set. As for a Legendary Collection, it feels like a name that they gave it in Japan and then just did not translate it over. So obviously I could easily make a sequel video to this, doing only the Japanese set names. But Japanese Pokemon card set names are usually a lot more, like, straightforward. I think of, like, some of the newer ones that came out, like Mega Evolution Chaos Rising, right? Like, Chaos Rising, I guess spoilers for, like, an hour from now, doesn't really tell me much about what's in the set. In Japanese, the set it comes from is called Ninja Spinner. And obviously you think of Ninja, you think of Greninja, and then obviously Mega Greninja is the main focus of the set. So you're like, oh, okay, it's a lot more straightforward than English. Legendary Collection feels like what they called it in Japan, and they just did not like translate it over. Actually, I could probably look that up real quick and see if that's correct. But Legendary Collection is one of quite a few reprinted sets. Actually, it looks like it's called Pokemon Versus, maybe? I don't even know. The Japanese sets for the earlier eras are kind of weird. It says there's only one per each era. I'm on Pokecollector, by the way, my goat. Yeah, Legendary Collection is one of many base set reprints we'll talk about today. And honestly, if we're going off of names, Legendary Collection, I guess it tells you it's a legendary collection of cards. Okay, I get it. I'll give it D. It's not great, but it's also not the worst, you know? It's not base set 2. If it was base set 3, then we'd be talking about putting it in F. But Legendary Collection, it's a fine name. It gets the point across. Moving on to the E series, Expedition base set. This one is weird because I believe it is the only base set, quote unquote, to actually use base set in the title. Like on the packs itself, I know it's so small that you can't even see it. It actually says Expedition base set. That's like the full name. Technically, like base set is just called Pokemon Trading Card Game. And if we go later, like Black and White, XY, those aren't called Black and White base set or XY base set. Those are just called Black and White or X and Y. This is the only one that says Expedition base set. An expedition, what expedition are we going on here? Expedition is like, obviously, a field adventure. You know, we're going out into the field and we're studying things. None of these cards really feel like we're going on an expedition. I mean, obviously, I can make an argument, like for Alligator Hollow, oh, maybe we're going to a swamp, or Arbok Hollow, maybe we're going to a snake cave or something. I don't know. But really, it's just another set. And it's not even like E-Series base set. The series is called E-Series, but it's called Expedition base set. Why is it called Expedition base set if the other ones don't even use Expedition in the name? It just goes Aquapolis and Skyridge. And this isn't even the set that introduces Crystal Pokemon. I was about to make an argument that you could, like, argue that maybe we're going on an expedition to discover these Crystal Pokemon for the first time, but really, I think Expedition base set might be an F tier. I think Jungle and Fossil are better. Actually, I might move Jungle and Fossil up to D, because they do describe certain Pokemon in the set. Expedition base set. The only thing that keeps sticking in my head is why would you call it Expedition base set if the other E-Series sets aren't even called Expedition something? It should just be called Expedition or E-Series base set. I think having both in there just makes it objectively a weird name. As for the next set, Aquapolis. Aquapolis, what does that even mean? What is an Aquapolis? Is it like a, God, I don't even know. I'm gonna look it up, see if Google can tell me anything. Aquapolis meaning Pokemon. Let's see if Google has anything to say about it. No, Google AI is just telling me it's the second E-Series set. Does anybody know the lore behind... I'm on Reddit now. Anybody know the lore behind Aquapolis? Oh, apparently Aquapolis is an area. Interesting. Aquapolis is a set revolving around the main town. It has a London mixed with Venice theme, clock towers, double-decker buses, gondolas, and water streets. Interesting. So Aquapolis is like a fictional town? I guess that's interesting. You know, like once you learn that's what it is, you're like, oh, interesting. But the name Aquapolis, it works. It definitely feels like a town in like a JRPG, like a Final Fantasy or a Ni no Kuni or something like that. Actually, I think Hydropolis was a city in Ni no Kuni too. But Aquapolis, I don't know. I guess Pokemon is a JRPG, so I guess it fits. I'll give it a C. I'll give it the bottom of C. I liked learning that it's based on a city, and actually, I'm looking at the Entei pack real close there, and you can see the actual building in the background of it. So it's cool. It reminds me of like EX Holon Phantoms, right? Because Holon is a fake region that only exists within the card game itself. So Aquapolis could be something like that. But even then, in Holon Phantoms, a lot of the Pokemon are like Holland's something, like Holland's Cast Form or Holland Energy or something like that. There's no like Aquapolis energy or anything like that. As for Skyridge, I'm on the same Reddit post here. Skyridge is an exploration of the island's most mysterious locations. There's a mountain range with 3 mountains that shows up with a lot of cards: a jungle, a waterfall, a lake, and a desert. And a temple for the legendary birds. Okay, so Sky Ridge. Sky Ridge is another area in the sky, but actually, based on this one Reddit post that I'm taking as fact right now, that could just be completely wrong for all I know. Sky Ridge. It doesn't work. Sky Ridge. I think if it was like Sky Space Ridge, it would work better than Sky Ridge. Aquapolis flows better off of the tongue. Sky Ridge. You have the pause in between Sky and Ridge. Sky Ridge. I guess you could, but I I don't think it's a great name. I'm gonna put it in D. I think it's better than like Legendary Collection or Jungle and Fossil, but Sky Ridge. What's the ridge? Is ridge like rigid edges? Obviously, I know it's the name of a fictional town, but even like Aquapolis, like obviously it's a whatever a polis is supposed to be. I think that's like a town, like Indianapolis, maybe. I don't know. And then aqua, which is Spanish for water. So sky is obviously the sky, and then ridge. Is there a different definition of ridge that I don't know? A long, narrow, and elevated strip of land, or a raised surface feature. I'd have to look at the set. Do any of the cards like feature that kind of artwork to them? Maybe. Okay, a lot of them have like deserts or cities in the background. That Ledian card's really nice. Okay. Not a lot of them do. I guess technically some of them feature caves and islands. So fine. I'll give it C. I'm actually going to move U down to C as well. Or to the bottom of C, I should say. So Aquapolis, Skyridge, bottom of C tier. They're fine. You know, it's just, I feel like I have to take extra steps to understand what they're saying. And even then, not all the cards in the set actually make use of the main gimmick of the set. On to the EX series, which is, you know my opinion on the EX series, but again, this isn't about the sets, it's just about the name, so you can calm down in your comments, with EX Ruby and Sapphire. So obviously, every era going forward, from Diamond and Pearl to Scarlet and Violet, not really including Mega Evolution actually, that was the only time they broke tradition, they've always been named the game, and then the subtitle underneath it, like XY Primal Clash. You know, it's XY because that's the game series we're in. Primal Clash is what they decided to call the set. This is EX Ruby and Sapphire. Ruby and Sapphire is obviously the main game, but they decided to call it the EX era instead. And honestly, I don't mind it. I think that Ruby and Sapphire would have been a clunky name, especially if we kept all the names we have now. Can you imagine it was like Ruby and Sapphire, Fire Red, Leaf Green, you know? Or Ruby and Sapphire, Delta Species, you know? It just kind of doesn't roll off the tongue as much as EX Fire Red, Leaf Green or EX Delta Species. I think calling this EX Ruby and Sapphire was actually a really smart move. Now, I was going to actually say something stupid that was incorrect. Yeah, of course EX Ruby and Sapphire is going to take Pokemon from the Ruby and Sapphire games. It's a thing much like base set. Like, what else are you going to do, you know? I feel like you can't really lie with the name EX Ruby and Sapphire. For that, I'll put it in B, just above Gym Heroes. Obviously, like, EX Ruby and Sapphire, I'm not going to be like, oh my god, what a cool name, or how did they come up with such a daring name, just combining the word EX with the name of the recent games. But it works. It tells you what you're going to get, and I appreciate that they went with the EX era over the Ruby and Sapphire era. Next up would be Sandstorm, so here we're going to talk about it right now. Obviously, I couldn't get the pack in there, so just pretend that I'm putting the pack up there right now. EX Sandstorm. Is there any Sandstorms? Okay, yeah, no. Cacturne, Armaldo, Cradilly, the first 3 cards in the set chronologically are taking place in the desert. I'm looking for more. I think the Espeon's in the Sandstorm. Pichu is Sandslash. Okay, yeah. Anorith. Okay, yeah. Unknown. There's definitely Pokemon in the set that are, in fact, in a Sandstorm. EX Sandstorm is... It's a fine name. Obviously, it's hard to rank these versus, like, the later Sword and Shield sets where they use, like, adjective noun. Like, once we hit, like, Diamond and Pearl, it's pretty consistently going to be adjective noun. But we're still in the era where it's like one word, you know, Sandstorm. What do I think of the name Sandstorm for a set? Um, I think it's honestly a little generic. Like, yeah, a lot of the Pokemon in the set are in a sandstorm, but I don't know. I'm not really good with coming up with names, but if it was like Sandy Dunes or something like that, or like Windy Dunes, I feel like Dunes would be a cool name for a set. If it was like Roaring Dunes, you know, or Daring Dunes. I don't know. Don't listen to my set names, okay? I'm not good at coming up with them. I'm just good at judging other people's. I think that Sandstorm would be like a C. Honestly, I think it's fine. It works. It describes what's in the set. It's just like not my favorite. So I'd put it probably right below Team Rocket, above Aquapolis. But obviously I can't because it didn't upload. EX Dragon. Another very straightforward one. Obviously, there's dragon types in the set. It's not really like the introduction of dragon types though. And honestly, there's a set called Dragon Frontiers only a few sets away from this one, chronologically. So like, why why is it called EX Dragon? You know, I think it's just an unfinished name. Especially because we have EX Dragon Frontiers at the end of the EX era. We obviously have like Dragon Vault and Dragons Exalted in black and white. Like there's a lot of sets called Dragon something. I think just calling it Dragon is honestly might be an F tier. I think it sounds more unfinished than finished. EX Dragon. What does that tell me? Other than the fact that maybe Rayquaza is one of the main Pokemon, but even then, EX Emerald's coming up pretty soon. Obviously, Rayquaza is going to be the main focus of Emerald. So EX Dragon in the long term is just such like a forgettable nothing name, especially because they did so much more with dragons later. If there was no other sets called Dragon, if Dragon Frontiers was called something else, if Dragon Vault, Dragons Exalted were called something else, hell, even Dragon Majesty's another one, right? Even if that didn't have Dragon in the name, that would be a different story. But since they do, just calling it EX Dragon, just kinda not my favorite name. Speaking of, let's talk about EX Team Magma versus Team Aqua, which is by far the longest name a Pokemon set has ever had. And it sure is descriptive. It sure is telling you exactly what you're gonna get. This is a battle between Team Magma and Team Aqua. But honestly, I'm not a huge fan of Double Crisis either, when we'll talk about it later. I think that's a bit of like a mouthful, you know, a double crisis. I feel like it's like a lot of like pauses, like a lot of syllables. There we go, that's the word. But EX Team Magma versus Team Aqua is just too on the nose. I like some of the sets that have a bit more of a nuance to them, you know, like Neo Destiny or Brilliant Stars. Let's look at some more, maybe like a ooh, I don't actually know. I'm looking at the ones. I think like a Steam Siege I can make that argument for too. And the ones I've ranked so far, like Neo Discovery, Neo Destiny, obviously those are the same kind of thing where there's a bit more of like a, oh, what's the lore here? EX Team Magma vs Team Aqua is literally telling you what you're going to get. For that, I think it's D. I know I said one of the criteria was like, does it fit the set? And yes, it fits the set. It fits the set very well, actually. It tells you exactly what's going to be inside, because you either get Team Aqua cards or Team Magma cards. But I just think the name is stupid. I think they need a little bit of nuance in these set names to make them interesting and memorable. EX Team Magma versus Team Aqua is not only a mouthful, but it's not a great set name. For that, I'm going to put it bottom of D. I can't put it in F because it does tell you what's inside the set, but it is just not my favorite name. As for EX Hidden Legends, I don't really know what's hidden about it. Let's see like the EX and the gold stars here. Okay. Yeah, no, so all of the EXs, well, not all of them, there's Ninetales, Metagross, Vileplume as well, but you have Groudon EX, you have Kyogre EX, and you have the Regis as EXs here. I guess that makes sense because the EX cards are kind of like hidden Pokemon within the set, like they're the ultra rares, right? From here until Scarlet, I guess Mega Evolution too has EXs. EXs are known as like, oh, EXs are good, they're the cards you want. So calling the set EX Hidden Legends implies that the EXs are going to be Hidden Legends. So I get it. I get what they're going for here. I also think the name's just kind of cool. Hidden Legends. It's a bit on the nose. Again, Legends. I feel like it could be called like Hidden something, like Hidden Fates, you know? Like they use Hidden again in the future in honestly what I would say is a much better way. But Hidden Legends is on the nose. It works. and I'll give it a I'll give it an A. It's a good name. Honestly, Hidden Legends, it tells you what you're going to get. Obviously, it's not the most inspired thing in the world, but not everything has to be, you know, a Vivid Voltage, where it's like this cool, like, you feel cool for saying it kind of thing. Like Hidden Legends, no. It's a good name. It tells you what's in the set. I think it works. I think it's an A. Bottom of A, but still A nonetheless. EX Fire Red Leaf Green. I think the only fair way I can rank this one is I'm just going to put it right next to EX Ruby and Sapphire. A little bit below, because obviously it's the second time they've done this. But again, not calling the era the Ruby and Sapphire era, or not starting a new era to make it a Fire Red Leaf Green era, I think was a great idea. Just calling it EX Fire Red Leaf Green. Obviously, it's going to revolve around the remakes at the time, Fire Red and Leaf Green. So obviously, it's going to feature a lot of Gen 1 Pokemon. Now, a lot of those Gen 1 Pokemon are PNG artworks, but again, not talking about the cards in the set. A lot of the EXs, actually all the EXs, I can check this really quick on my phone. I believe every card in the set is in fact a Gen 1 Pokemon, which I know is not the most inspired idea in the world. Obviously we have sets like 151 later that do the exact same thing, but it works. EX Fire Red Leaf Green, it certainly does work, and again, much like EX Ruby and Sapphire, it's not just called Fire Red Leaf Green base set, it's actually called EX Fire Red Leaf Green, which as simple as that change is, I do think makes the set cooler overall, at least from a name perspective. Next up is EX Team Rocket Returns. Returns is such a goofy word. I think of like a lot of Nintendo games use returns, right? Like Donkey Kong Country Returns or Detective Pikachu Returns. It's just such like a goofy like sitcom word. Oh, it's like Team Rocket, those silly little guys, those silly little goobers. Oh, they came back. They returned. It's definitely a word that over time has definitely soured with me just because of how like goofy it is and how I love Nintendo games. One of my favorite things to collect in the world. Much like Pokemon cards, actually. So just having something called Returns just reminds me explicitly of that. And whenever they make a new game called something Returns, which is much more often than you would think, it always just gets a groan out of me because it's such a stupid name. Now, Team Rocket Returns, isn't an awful name or anything. It works. We got Team Rocket back, we got Dark Pokemon back, and I believe, I can quickly check this, it does actually include Rocket's Pokemon this time. Ooh, I do like the Dark cards in the set, how they're all black like that. Yes, so like the EXs here are like Rocket's Articuno EX and Rocket's Mewtwo EX. So yeah, it makes sense. Ooh, we also have Gold Stars here. Nope, not talking about the sets though. EX Team Rocket Returns. I'm going to deduct a couple points for it saying returns in it, but all in all, I think it's fine. I think it's a C. I think it's a little weaker than like Neo Revelation. Is that Neo Revelation? Yeah, that's Neo Revelation. Gotta trust my gut here. Again, returns kind of throws me off, but I guess what else would you call it? Like Team Rocket's back? I would hate it more if they called it that. So I guess in a way, they're kind of stuck using the word returns, and it's not their fault that I think the word is goofy and overused, but it definitely doesn't help my opinion of the set either. EX Deoxys. So I liked EX Ruby and Sapphire, and I liked EX Fire Red Leaf Green because those were the name of the games. That's a lot more of like an umbrella term. EX Deoxys, on the other hand, it describes one Pokemon. Granted, that Pokemon has 4 different forms, each with a holo and an EX, so that's 8 different cards within the set. But this set still has, I mean, I can check real quick. This set still has 107 cards in it. That means that 99 other cards in the set are in fact not Deoxys. So yes, EX Deoxys, I guess the main card you're chasing is a Deoxys, but even then, the main thing people want from these eras is the Gold Stars, and there is no Deoxys Gold Star in this set. It's like Latios, Latias, and Rayquaza. So in a way, I think the name EX Deoxys actually only hurts the set. Again, yes, it features Deoxys as the main Pokemon, but if they called like a newer set, like Sword and Shield Calyrex, you know, like yeah, instead of Chilling Rain, I think it's a huge downgrade, but I guess it would technically tell you what you're getting. The main chase cards in Chilling Rain are Calyrex, but it's such a dumb name. I think EX Deoxys definitely works better because you got the double X's, you got EX and Deoxys with an X in there. And they even highlighted it on the artwork, as you can see. It's like blue compared to the rest being yellow. So clearly they understand that the EX versus Eoxys works. That being said, it's not my favorite. This is a solid D from me. It's just, it's not my favorite. I think it's better than Jungle or Fossil. I think it's around the same area though. Definitely better than EX Team Magma versus Team Aqua. But still, not my favorite name they've ever made. EX Emerald. So, it's like the image of Jimmy Neutron, where it's like, Sheen, this is the third time you've brought, it's not Captain Planet. What's the guy's name? The purple guy in Planet Sheen. Not Planet Sheen, Jimmy Neutron. What's the superhero? I'm looking it up. It's gonna bother me so much when I remember what it is. Ultra Lord. Sheen, this is the third time you've brought Ultra Lord to class. EX Era, this is the third time you've named it after a game. And I liked it when you did EX Ruby and Sapphire. I appreciated it when you did EX Fire Red and Leaf Green. But what does EX Emerald really bring to the table? Emerald was the third game to Ruby and Sapphire. It featured Rayquaza as the main Pokemon. But like, we've already had EX Dragon. There was a Rayquaza Gold Star in EX Deoxys. So like, Deoxys is not new to the card game. So calling it EX Emerald really doesn't do anything for me. Honestly, I'm going to put it, I think it's C, because yes, EX Emerald, it makes sense. Emerald was the newest game out. Emerald's also just a cool word. Cool word. But EX Emerald as a name, yeah, it's fine. It's C. It works. It tells you what you're going to get, but what you're getting really is just three more, not, what am I talking about? It's just more Gen 3 Pokemon. And at the end of the day, that's not anything unique for the EX era. Also, I switched Base Set and Team Rocket because I think Team Rocket's a much more interesting name. And so I'm going to put Aquapolis and Skyridge above Base Set as well. EX Unseen Forces. What forces are unseen? I guess it's unknown, right? Because they have the whole unknown subset here. Oh, wait, that's actually really clever. Unseen Forces. Unknown in, like, the lore is like this like unknown deity, right? Where I guess it's unseen because technically they're letters, but like people would spell in ruins with ancient unknowns, so it's like unseen in that regard where you don't know exactly what they're showing you at first. No, actually that's a pretty clever name, Pokemon. I never really thought about Unseen Forces before as a set. I think it ranked pretty low on the video I did, ranking every set ever. But no, that might be an S tier, actually, because it is genuinely really clever. Unseen Forces. The supernaturalness of the unknowns and, like, the ancientness of them as, like, a species, because they're unknown. Nobody knows what they are, so they're also unseen in that regard. And sure, the rest of the set, you could see everything in there. There's no, like, invisible Pokemon. Like, this would have been a great time to put, like, a Gengar EX in the set, you know? But from a quick glance I just scrolled through, it doesn't actually look like there's any ghost sets or ghost type Pokemon in this set. I want to double check that before I say anything. Yeah, no, there's no ghost type EXs, there's no ghost type Gold Stars, there's no ghost type commons or uncommons. There is no ghost types in the set. I feel like that would have made much more sense because, you know, ghosts are also unseen. But honestly, that's a really cool name, especially with the whole unknown gimmick. Unseen Forces. The forces are unseen. Yeah, no. Not one I expected to put in S tier, but upon further inspection, I like it a lot. EX Delta Species. Oh boy. Let's talk about EX Delta Species. Remember, guys, this is just off of the name. EX Delta Species, I think it works for what it is. I think it's a good name. I never really understood what Delta Species meant. Like, what... Delta is obviously, like, one of those... I don't even know what they're called. Like, the Alpha, Beta, Omega, Delta. What are those called again? That's what happens when you start talking for 40 minutes straight. But obviously Delta means that. But is there another definition for Delta? There's Deltarune. I don't think that's what they meant, actually. A Delta can refer to several things depending on the context. It can be a landform, so it can be a low-lying, triangular, or fan-shaped plane. It can be the mathematics, which is the Greek letter. Yep, that's where I was trying to figure it out. It denotes change in and or an incremental difference. Okay. Or it can be finance, which I don't think it is. It's something about something stock market. And yeah, it could be an airline as well, which I don't think it is. So I did not know that's what Delta meant. I did not know it was Greek for change in or incremental difference. Knowing that, I think it's actually much cooler because obviously a Delta species is like a species that is drastically different than their original typing, you know? Like if Dragonite's a dragon flying type and in Delta species it's like a normal type, that is technically a delta or an incremental difference. So honestly, as many opinions as I have on the set itself and what they decided to do with the gimmick, the name for the gimmick and the name for the set, now knowing what they are, I'd give it a low A. Honestly, yeah. Delta species, I think that's a cool name for them. Now knowing what Delta means, it means a change in something. Yeah, no, it's a cool name for a set. Again, shame what it turned out becoming. Next up we have, is it Hidden Legends? It's Legend Maker. I was close where I did Hidden Legends. So Legend Maker's down here. I'll bring it up to the top for you. Legend Maker. Sick name, honestly. If you're like a legend maker, then you make legends. You're so cool that people make legends about you. And, I mean, obviously I see the pack with Aerodactyl on it, but obviously if this has anything to do with legendary Pokemon, then I think that's a really cool way to take it. I see Mew as a holo in the set. Mew's also an EX in the set. Reggie's Rock, Registeel, Regice all got gold stars in the set, so cool. So there is definitely legend makers in the set, but honestly, I feel like having Pokemon that aren't legends in the set could also work. Because obviously a legend maker is you're making something a legend, so maybe these Pokemon are like trying to strive to be a legend. And honestly, Legend Maker, it's just a sick name. Like, I don't care if it doesn't, like, if I'm stretching to make it fit with these cards. Legend Maker, honestly, that's my favorite name I've seen so far. Top of S. Legend Maker is such a fucking cool name. I'm sorry, but like it really is. Legend Maker. I can't keep saying it. It's definitely the best name I've heard so far. I don't even remember what I said about the set. Probably somewhere in the middle of that ranking video I did. But Legend Maker, really cool name. Holland Phantoms. Okay, so we talked about this one a little bit earlier. Obviously, they have the gimmick of not only keeping Delta species around, but also Holon Pokemon now. Holon Pokemon were, yeah, so like Holland's cast form, right? Is that the only Holland's Pokemon in the set? Wait, really? Hold on. Wait, I'm scrolling the set right now. There's no way. Wow. There's not even a Holland Energy. It's just Holland's cast form? Okay, wait. I was going to praise the set a lot, but I might have to take some of it back. I'm scrolling, I'm double checking this. Yeah, no. There is one Pokemon with the sublabel Holland something in the set in its cast form. So honestly, that makes it a way worse set. I thought that there was like a handful, at the very least, of Pokemon in the set with the name Holland in them, because Holland is obviously the fake region in the game. But Holland Phantoms is right, because apparently they all disappeared or something. It is just cast form left. And what a guy to be left with, I guess, Mr. Tits, but, like, it's just one guy. Holland Phantoms. Phantom's a cool word, and they use it a couple more times, obviously, with, like, Phantom Forces and Phantasmal Flames later on. Holland Phantoms, though. Holon is such a wasted word. It's a fictional word, obviously. It's like hollow cards, or like hollow, like you knock on something and there's nothing inside. But there's nothing. This is a D tier. I'm sorry. Like it's a fine name. I like it as a name more than any of the ones below it. But if you're not gonna do anything with the gimmick other than having one Pokemon for it, then that's just a wasted set name, honestly. And I think there's 2 more EX series sets left. Yeah, EX Dragon Frontiers. Okay, it's right there. There it is. And then we also have Power Keepers to finish us off. Dragon Frontiers. I definitely heard the word Frontiers before. Obviously, like Sonic Frontiers, right? I don't know if I actually know what the word Frontiers actually means as a definition, which we can quite easily look up here. Frontiers. A frontier is a political and geographical term referring to areas near or beyond a boundary, particularly zones at the edge of a settled territory. So the dragons are claiming their territory. Okay, I can see that. And you're entering new frontiers. You're entering new territory ruled by dragons. So in a way, I guess it's actually very similar to Dragon Majesty from Sun and Moon, where dragons are almost like these like kings or like these like royal figures, and dragon frontiers. The real deal breaker here, let's look at the set real quick. How many Dragon-type Pokemon are there in the set? There are no Holo Dragon types in the set, other than like Vibrava, and that might just be an uncommon. Actually, hold on, is it just uncommon? Yeah, it's just uncommon. There's Dragonair. There was no Dragonite. Dragonite gets an EX in the set though, which is something. Salamence gets an EX. Latias get an EX. Flygon get an EX. Altaria get an EX. Okay, Charizard gets a gold star. All right, I understand where they're going with it now. It's all in the EXs, not really the Holos. It's a cool name. You know what? Dragon Frontiers. I don't have to think too much about many of these. Dragon Frontiers, you know, they're claiming their territory. You're entering new dragon-owned territory. I think I can put it, like, above... I'd put it above Neogenesis. Honestly, I think it's a pretty sick name for a set. And to finish off the EX era, we have EX Power Keepers. They are the Keepers of Power, which I guess is true of all Pokemon. So by extension, yeah, I guess it technically does apply to this set. Technically, these Pokemon are, in fact, Keepers of Power. But Power Keepers. Not my favorite name, Power Keepers. Even as, like, a name, it's just, like, nothing. Like, it's, like, super forgettable. I wouldn't be surprised if I forgot it when I was trying to name all the Pokemon card sets. Power Keepers. I had a water bottle on my desk, by the way. Like, what? It doesn't mean anything. You know? It's just a nothing name. I'm gonna put it in D. It's not my favorite. Honestly, I think it's the second worst we have in D tier. I think it's better than Team Magma versus Team Aqua, because at least it's something different. Like EX Power Keepers. How many things in the world are called Power Keepers? Not much, really. EX Team Magma versus Team Aqua is just really too on the nose. But honestly, I prefer like a Jungle or a Fossil. Because those... No, I don't actually. I prefer Power Keepers. I changed my mind. I talked myself out of it. I do prefer Deoxys, though, over Power Keepers, because at least that implies somewhat what's in the set. And Deoxys has the EX in it, too. So yeah, much better set than Power Keepers. Actually, I think EX Deoxys is probably the best in D tier. I think Call on Phantoms jumps down a little bit like that. Okay, that's all for the EX era. As for Diamond and Pearl base set. So, base sets are going to be interesting for me, because, like, how do I rank base sets? Obviously, I could say base set is fine, because what else are you going to name it? Pokemon Trading Card Game. And then, this is the first one that's just called the game. This is just Diamond and Pearl. So I guess really I'm just ranking how cool of a name I think the game has compared to everything else. And Diamond and Pearl is definitely one of the cooler Pokemon names out there for the games anyway. Obviously, they split it up into Platinum after, which we'll talk about when we get there. But as for Diamond and Pearl, they're not really like gemstones that go together that much. You know, diamonds, I mean, like, obviously you can think of Minecraft, right? They're obviously found underground. They're used in jewelry. They're like a very like high value item. Pearls are also like a high value item, but they're found in clams in the ocean. Which, oh wait, ocean? Palkia is a water type? You know, that's the first time I think I've realized that. Diamond, Dialga's made of steel. Okay, that's the first time I've truly thought about those names. That makes a lot of sense, actually. It's not really a factor in the set itself, but I never actually thought about that. That's like literally, you heard the neurons connecting in my brain when I was talking about pearls coming from the ocean. Diamond and Pearl, I think they're, again, some of the cooler names. I'm just saying the same things over and over again. I think it's B. I think it's a solid above EX Ruby and Sapphire, Diamond and Pearl. Neo Discovery. I think it's better than Neo Discovery. Top of B tier for Diamond and Pearl. I don't think it's like an A tier set, because obviously the sets after are also called Diamond and Pearl, like Diamond and Pearl Mysterious Treasures is the next one, for example. But Diamond and Pearl, just on its own, I think that's a pretty cool name. Honestly, even if it wasn't based on a game, if it was called like, you know, Heart Gold, Soul Silver, Diamonds and Pearls, I think it would be not my favorite set, but I think it would still work on its own. As for Mysterious Treasures, so like, the Lake Guardians are the main people of this set. But even then, are they? Because they get regular holos and they get like the weird time-space distortion holo, secret rare. But like the EXs in the set are like Electivire, Magmortar, and Lucario. So Mysterious Treasures, unknowns in the set, again, much like Unseen Forces. I guess that could be the mysterious factor here, but Unseen Forces was just a much better name for an unknown-centered set. And that one had like the whole subset in it. Mysterious treasures. What treasures here are mysterious? Nothing here is really mysterious or a treasure. It's just more diamond and pearl. I agree that the name sounds cool. Mysterious Treasures is a cool name, but also it doesn't really mean much, which I think makes it a perfect C tier set. I would put it above Team Rocket. We got next up on the list Secret Wonders. It's the same shit, different day. Secret Wonders, Mysterious Treasures. They pretty much mean the exact same thing. What wonders here are secret? This one doesn't even have the... Oh no, it does have unknown in it. Never mind. It does in fact actually have some unknowns in it. So I was about to say, it doesn't even have unknown, so it doesn't even make sense. But it does. This one has Gardevoir and Honchkrow. Secret Wonders. I think Gardevoir could be argued to be a wonder. And I'm not just saying this because I hate Honchkrow, but is Honchkrow a secret or a wonder? Really? No, it's a crow. It's a Mafia crow. I guess it has that going for it. But Secret Wonder, that really only applies to Gardevoir and arguably the unknowns. I actually am going to put this in D. Is this the right one? Yeah, I think that's the right set with the Glade on the artwork. I think that this is a D. I think it's... Okay, you know what? I'm looking at D tier, right? I think Secret Wonders goes in D. I think Deoxys goes up to C. Because again, I think the EX in Deoxys is clever. I'll move it up to above EX Emerald. Everything else can stay in D tier though, including Secret Wonders. Great Encounters. What an awful name. What great encounters we have with Cresselia and Darkrai level X. What? Dialga Palkia level X too. Great Encounters? Sure. But you could argue any of these sets could be called Great Encounters. I could call Fates Collide Great Encounters. I could call Heart Gold Soul Silver Great Encounters because they have legendary Pokemon as the main featured guy of the set, and those are great encounters. Is this an F? I think it might be an F. I think it's a terrible name. Great Encounters? Like, what does that tell me at all? I have to go close. That's Platinum. That's Great Encounters. Yeah, no, that's terrible name. Not a fan of Great Encounters. It's so just nothing. Majestic Dawn. I like that one a lot, actually. It's Majestic Dawn. I guess it depends what Pokemon are in the set. Garchomp, Glaceon, Leafeon, Porygon Z. Okay, not really anything Majestic Dawn. You got a Cresselia and a Darkrai Hollow, I guess. It doesn't really fit, but I like the name. And honestly, if I had to pick which one I preferred, you might have picked up on this by now. I prefer a set that has a cooler name versus one that fits the set. And some of these, yes, I like Delta Species. I understood what it meant because I looked it up, and I thought it was cooler because of it, because it has like two meanings. Majestic Dawn doesn't really have multiple meanings. I guess you could argue Dawn, like the character from Diamond and Pearl, like your friend and or player character, depending on if you're a boy or you're a girl. But I'm looking right now, Dawn does not even get a trainer card in the set, so I don't know if you can argue that. But Majestic Dawn. Majestic is a great word for a Pokemon card set. It's kind of strange that they've only used it once. They've used Majesty in Dragon Majesty, but Majestic, it's a great word, and they've only used it in this one set. Same with Dawn, I'm pretty sure. I just like the name. I don't care if it doesn't fit. I'll give it an A. I would give it an S, but it doesn't have, like, the factor of making sense with the cards in the set. Like, it is just purely based on name that I'm going to give it an A here. But the name is really good. I'm going to put it... I'm gonna put it above Neo Discovery or Destiny Genesis. It's Genesis. There we go. See, you start talking for an hour, and this is what happens to you. Majestic Dawn is a really great name for a set. It's just a shame it doesn't really make much sense in the scheme of things. Legends Awakened. Diamond and Pearl Legends Awakened. Let's see how many legendary Pokemon are in the set. Deoxys, I guess it's mythical. Mythical and legendaries are the same thing, let's be real. Giratina, Mewtwo, Rayquaza, Regigigas, Azelf. Okay, Deoxys, all the Deoxys forms, Groudon, Heatran, Mesprit. Alright, yeah, okay. The legends are awakened, I get it. There's also unknowns in the set. You could make an argument for that being a legend awakened. Awakened. There's also Azelf, Mesprit, Uxie level X, as well as Mewtwo level X. Yeah, okay, I can see why they named it that. It's not my favorite name ever. which I think those two things combined equal a C tier. So I will put it, honestly, so I'm going to put this one right above Mysterious Treasures. I'm going to move Deoxys up to B. Deoxys. No, I'm not. I'm going to put it top of C, because at the end of the day, it is only 8 Pokemon. But I like the EX part of it. That's what they did in Black and White too. We'll get there at some point. Where they did like Dragons Exalted, and it has EX in the name, or Dark Explorers with EX. So I can't give it too much props because they did it better later. But I like the name. Actually, I'm just going to put it back where it was. I don't know what I'm talking about. I immediately regretted my decision to move it, so I'm just putting it right back where it was. Diamond and Pearl Stormfront is the last Diamond and Pearl era set. Another sick name, Stormfront. Like, you're the front of the storm, you know. A Stormfront's like where the storm is the worst, I believe. I'm not going to look it up because I'm lazy. I only look up stuff that I'm absolutely not certain about. And I'm like 90% certain that a Stormfront is like the front of the storm. Like, if you're looking at like a weather map, it's the part that's like the edge of it, you know? I'm probably wrong. It could also be the eye of the storm for all I know. Either way, Stormfront, great name for the set. Don't really know what it means in terms of the cards in the set. Maybe these Pokemon are like a Stormfront. It would make sense that there was like a rain themed Pokemon in here, but like the main Pokemon are like the Charizard line as secret rares. There's also like Regigigas, Heatran, Just Noir. I guess you make an argument for Raichu level X being the bringer of thunder, you know, if it's a Stormfront. You also have like the reverse holo shinies of Drifloon and Vulpix. They don't really bring a storm though. And I think this might be another like A tier where it's a really sick name for a set. Stormfront, like, unironically is a banger name just for anything. Like, I could see like a badass like anime like bounty hunter being called like my name is Stormfront. And sure, it's like goofy as hell, but it's objectively a cool name. So yeah, I think Diamond and Pearl Stormfront, this one right here, I think I'll give it A, but probably like I'll give it high B. I'll give it just above Neo Discovery. A is for like names that I really like. Stormfront I like, but it's not my favorite. I honestly think Diamond and Pearl might just straight up be a better name for a set overall. On to Platinum. So, other than EX Fire Red Leaf Green, this is the only time they've kind of split off mid-era. Actually, no, because they did it with Heart Gold Steel Silver right after. So ignore everything I just said. But calling the set Platinum instead of Diamond and Pearl Platinum, I guess makes sense. But also, I would rather have just not done a Platinum set. Because, like, later eras, like the XY era, they had, like, Primal Clash Ancient Origins. That's how we got all the new Megas from Omega Ruby off Sapphire. Sun and Moon split off into, like, Team Up and, like, Detective Pikachu for, like, the Let's Go era side of things. And Sword and Shield did, like, Astral Radiance for Legends Arceus. This is the only time that when we've gotten a new game, they've kind of split it off into its own thing. And honestly, I don't like it when they do that. I prefer just having a longer Diamond and Pearl era versus splitting up into Diamond and Pearl and Platinum and Heart Gold Steel Silver. So honestly, just for that, I'm going to put Platinum in D. Platinum is a fine name for a game. I think that Diamond and Pearl is better. I think the names Diamond and Pearl on their own are worse, but together, Diamond and Pearl is better than just Platinum. So I'm going to put it, I'll put it like right next to like Jungle and Fossil. It's fine. It's the name of the game. I get it. It's Pokemon from Platinum, like the new forms of Shaman, the new forms of Giratina. Sure, makes sense, but at the same time, it is just more Gen 4, I suppose. Checking to see that we are filming, actually exactly 1 hour in. I'm going to do my best to not have to edit this video at all. That's going to be the goal, because I'd like to get it out as soon as possible. Just because I've been falling behind on these videos a little bit. Not that you care, though. Let's keep talking about Platinum Rising Rivals. Rising Rivals. Very similar to, like, Destined Rivals in Scarlet and Violet. Rising Rivals. Like, rivals are rising to the challenge. Okay, I get it. Is there, like, berry-themed cards in the set? Because Berry's the rival in Diamond and Pearl? Not just, like, cards with Berry on it, but, like, you know, like Floatzel. Yeah, okay, there's Floatzel. There's... Does he use a Powdon? He uses Luxray? He uses Snorlax for sure. There's a Snorlax level X. Okay, so you can make that argument. We also have like the gym leader and the Elite Four Pokemon in the set, so rising rivals could also be like, oh, they're rivaling us in our path to be the champion. So those rivals could be rising. Yeah, it makes sense. It's also kind of a cool name, to be honest. Rising Rivals. Platinum Rising Rivals. See, if it was Diamond and Pearl Rising Rivals, honestly, I think I'd like it more. I think the Platinum era was honestly just a waste. But Rising Rivals, I think that could be an A. I like it. Rising Rivals. I think it can go like above Hidden Legends, honestly. Rising Rivals. It's such a cool name. And I feel like for a lot of these sets, I just keep saying the name over and over again, but that's really how I just decide my opinion on them. It's like, how do they sound off the tip of my tongue, and just do I like them? Supreme Victors. No me gusta. Supreme Victors. No, those words do not work together. I also don't know what it means. Supreme Victors? I guess it's like the champion Pokemon. And, oh, we have Frontier Brains and, like, Cyrus Pokemon in this set. So, sure, Supreme Victors, but guys, they lost. In, like, the canon of the games, Cyrus lost. The Frontier Brains lose to you canonically. So I don't know how this is Supreme Victors. If anything, it would be like Supreme Triumph or Supreme Victory, because you, as the player, beat them. I honestly think Supreme Victors doesn't make much sense as a name. I also just don't think it's a very good name. I would be okay with F tier. Supreme Victors. No, I guess it's better than, like, EXT Magma vs. Team Aqua. So I'll put it, like, at the very bottom of D. Supreme Victors. Yeah, no, I honestly think I just prefer Platinum. It's just, it doesn't roll off the tongue. It doesn't make sense. It's generic as hell. No, don't like it. Platinum Arceus. Okay. So another set based on one Pokemon. Platinum Arceus. I guess it makes sense. Arceus itself is kind of platinum, so you could also make that argument. But Platinum Arceus. There is definitely a lot of Arceuses in this set. Obviously, there's the whole, like, Ripple pattern Arceuses, where you have the one normal type one, and then you have all the Arceus with the different plates that have, like, the Ripple pattern going across them, so you can display them with one giant Ripple going in a line. That is a cool gimmick. It makes sense with Platinum Arceus. Much like Deoxys, though, there's what? One, two... Actually, it looks like there's 9. There's 9 unique Arceus cards in the set, but unfortunately, there is still 99 other cards in the set. So there is 90 other cards in the set that are, in fact, not Arceus. And I guess those don't really make a ton of sense. I actually kind of like Platinum Arceus as a name. I think it's very similar to EX Deoxys. Even if you don't have that same, like, Deox S with the EX in it, I think it is a very similar kind of thing. And because of that, I simply am going to put it right below EX Deoxys as soon as I find it. Is this another one that just didn't get transferred in? I do not see Platinum Arceus. Okay. I talked about it, though. So, you know, I mentioned it. I would put it right below EX Deoxys above Legend Maker. And if I see it later and I'm just stupid, then I'll put it there. But it's right there. I see it. Never mind. I'm blind. Okay, yeah. There we go. There's Platinum Arceus right there. Heart Gold and Soul Silver. To be 100% obvious... Obvious? No, honest. That's the right word. Be 100% honest. Heart Gold and Soul Silver, in my personal opinion, not speaking of the game quality, I think they're good games. I loved playing through them. I think it's a terrible name. I think it's too much. HGSS, Heart Gold, Soul Silver. I'm also not a huge fan of, like, Brilliant Diamond and Shining Pearl. I like the games, too, much like Heart Gold, Soul Silver, but I think the names are bad. They feel long. And I guess Omega Ruby Alpha Sapphire is the same thing, but unironically, I kind of love those names. I don't know why I think those names are great and these ones aren't. Probably because Omega Ruby is my first game, also one of my favorites. So definitely some of my bias is showing through here. But Heart Gold, Soul Silver, I feel like it's like a mouthful. Even for just like a game name. It's just never been my favorite games to say out loud. Oh, what games are you playing? I'm playing Heart Gold and Soul Silver. Or I'm playing Pokemon Heart Gold. No, that doesn't make much sense. Soul Silver, I think, is a better name than Heart Gold because it's double S, right? Soul Silver. I think if it was like Glimmering Gold and it was GGSS, I think that would honestly be better than HGSS. As a Pokemon card set name, Heart Gold, Soul Silver, I think it's just too long. You know? Obviously, if we said like the full legal names of some of the later ones, you know, like Sword and Shield Lost Origin, like that is also the same amount of words. But technically, these other sets are Heart Gold, Soul Silver, Unleashed, or Undaunted, or whatever. So, Heart Gold, Soul Silver, it doesn't really work as a base set like this. Honestly, if it was like Platinum, Heart Gold, Soul Silver, I think I would like it more. As is, though, I think this is, if I put it in S tier, alright, remember that it's A, not about the cards in the set, and it's B, not the games. It's the name. It's just the name. And honestly, I'm not a huge fan of the name. I'm going to put it top of F tier. I think it's just too long. I think it's clunky. I think they needed to rework it a little bit. And that's just my personal opinion. And another little nitpick I have about the Heart Gold Soul Silver era is they abbreviated it to HS. What? It should be either HGSS or just GS because gold and silver were the original games. Is it just heart soul? Heart gold soul? It's like the first letters of it? It doesn't make sense to me. So HS Unleashed, if we say it like that, it sounds stupid. But Heart Gold Soul Silver Unleashed honestly isn't much better. Honestly, Heart Gold Soul Silver Unleashed and Heart Gold Soul Silver Undaunted, they're even worse. I'm just gonna put them right below. I'm gonna put them right below Heart Gold Soul Silver base set. What do we got? Unleashed? Yeah. No, I think these just get worse one after another. They're too much. Again, the sets, fine. The sets are good, actually. Heart Gold Soul Silver was one of my favorite eras of cards they ever made. But the names. Not only is it HS, which doesn't make sense, it should be HGSS because that's the full name of the thing. That's the abbreviation for it. But also, Heart Gold Soul Silver Unleashed or HS Unleashed or even HGSS Unleashed just doesn't sound good. Heart Gold Soul Silver Triumphant, though, I do think is a little bit better. I like the word triumphant more than I like undaunted. I think it's just a better word. Heart Gold Soul Silver Triumphant. I also think it just flows better. You know, it's not Heart Gold Soul Silver Unleashed. Like, that's a lot of syllables in there. Triumphant. I guess it's also probably the same amount, but it sounds better. HS Triumphant. Heart Gold Soul Silver. HGSS Triumphant. Yeah, it's fine. I'll give this one C. Don't ask why. I just think it's a C. Okay, I'll put it above base set even. Ooh, daring. I think it's definitely the best of the Heart Gold Soul Silver era, but that's not saying much. Again, just off of the name. Remember, that's what this tier list is about. Call of Legends. Are we calling the Legends? Like, obviously, I understand what the name is saying. Like, oh, it's the Siren Call of Legends, but this set has shiny legendary Pokemon in it. Honestly, I think the name Shining Legends would have worked much better here than it did in Shining Legends, the Sun and Moon set, because Shining Legends was mostly it was a mythical themed set. It was all shiny mythicals. Also, I just noticed something. I missed an EX series set. We'll have to do that one in just a second. Oops. Anyways, I think Shining Legends would work better for this set than Call of Legends, because Call of Legends honestly doesn't tell me that it's a shiny Pokemon set. It just tells me that there's normal legendaries in the set. In that regard, I feel like it doesn't explain what the set actually is. Yes, there's legendary Pokemon in it. Yes, it's a special set themed solely around legendary Pokemon, but they needed shiny or sparkling or something in the name to make it seem like these are shiny Pokemon in the set, because as is Call of Legends, it works. It's a C tier name, but it's not. It could have been way better, you know? It could have worked way better than what it was. As is, we're just calling these shiny legendary Pokemon on the phone, I guess. But let's go back a little bit. I did miss EX Crystal Guardians. Now, I kind of forgot to mention this when I was talking about the the E series of sets. I do not like the Crystal Pokemon. I'm just not a fan of them. I think they're overhyped, I think they're underwhelming, and they're just not my favorite cards. So here we have the Crystal Guardians. The Crystal Pokemon are back. But also, what are they the guardians of? Is the Crystal Realm like its own thing in this universe? You know, like, what does Crystal Guardians mean? They're guarding the crystals? If anything, I think that the Crystal Pokemon would be more, like, aggressive or offensive than anything else, rather than, like, defensive or these, like, sagely, like, guardians of this, like, crystal realm. And when you realize what you're talking about sounds stupid, and you're making a Pokemon card name set ranking video, I think it's saying something. I could say something like Heart Gold Soul Silver Unleashed is dumb, but it's like a bad set name. But I could say that with like a straight face. Me saying that EX Crystal Guardians and me trying to explain a crystal realm sounds like I'm genuinely on drugs. And honestly, EX Crystal Guardians, I think it's a D tier set. I get it, the crystal Pokemon are in it, so I understand Crystal. Crystal Guardians is a fine name. It works. It slips off the tongue well. I think it's just my bias towards crystal Pokemon showing up that I just don't like them. I think it is better than either Hall and... I think it's the best in D tier, honestly. But, it's, again, probably me just being biased against crystal Pokemon, but I just don't like them. Alright, we got... What do we got next? We are on Black and White, officially. What do I think of the names Black and White for Pokemon games? I think it was inevitable, right? Because obviously they have a huge color thing going on with red and blue and green. They also had gold and silver. I guess they're more metals, but there are technically also colors. You have Scarlet and Violet later on. Pokemon loves naming games after colors. And honestly, I think the color-based Pokemon games are some of the coolest names. Spoiler alert for Scarlet and Violet, but that is my favorite name for a Pokemon game. I think Pokemon Scarlet and Pokemon Violet work so well as games in ways that like Pokemon like X and Y don't really have the same impact on me. But Pokemon Black and White, it's a cool way. Obviously, Black and White, yin and yang. That's the whole point with Reshiram and Zekrom. I understand why they did it. It wasn't like a Palkia Dialga thing where I just put it together. No, I understood that basically from day one of me seeing Pokemon Black and White for the first time. I think it's a cooler name than, again, X and Y. Cooler name than Sword and Shield. Much better than Mega Evolution. I think it's better than... where would I put it? Black and White base set. Obviously, much like the games, it does only feature Pokemon from Gen 5. It also has the Secret Rare Pikachu, which you all in the comments of my last video told me is in there, because apparently, something I did not know before you guys told me, was in the original Black and White, you can get Pikachu as a post-game Pokemon in Black and White, I believe, and that's like the only non-Gen 5 Pokemon you can get during the story, maybe? It was something along those lines, and once you said it, I was like, oh, I guess that makes sense, but it's still like a silly little card that I don't really care about. But you have the Reshiram and the Black Zekrom full art, the White Reshiram and the Black Zekrom full art, and those are cool cards. Makes sense. They're very Black and White themed, so I understand why it's called it. It's a cool name for a game. I'll put it an A. Honestly, Pokemon Black and White, honestly, I think are kind of underrated names for not only games, but also like a set. I think having Pokemon Black and White as a set is really cool. As for emerging powers, I don't like it. Emerging powers. Emerging. I just don't like that word. I'm emerging. It's stupid. Like, I understand, like, it's an emerging power in the sense that Tornadus and Thundurus get full arts in the set. They're supposed to be, like, roaming legendaries. They're emerging. They're poking their heads out for the first time. Sure, okay, but it's just it doesn't work for me. It might be another F tier. Where is emerging powers? It's right here. It's just not my favorite. I think it's clunky. I think it's better than Heart Gold, Soul Silver, but not by much. Black and White emerging powers. No, I think it's worse, actually. I think it's like a Great Encounters thing. Great Encounters, emerging powers, they rhyme, and they both suck. They have that in common. We got Noble Victories, which I don't think makes a lot of sense. I understand it's a Victini base set, the Victini full art. Okay, I understand that. And I guess Noble also comes from the Swords of Justice, because Cobalion, Terrakion, and Virizion get full arts in this set. But in terms of Victini, I'm pretty sure Victini is like this huge gloater, right? Like, its base Sugimori artwork is holding up a peace sign. Like, if that's not gloating, I don't know what is. So being noble, being like a king, or being like humble, that's usually what noble means. Doesn't really fit for Victini. Noble Victories, I definitely think fits more for the Virizion, Terrakion, and Cobalion of the world. And in that regard, I think it's actually a pretty cool set name, Noble Victories, because it's the Swords of Justice. There's also N full art. I don't know enough about the black and white story. I know people cream their pants over N though. Noble, I know N is a noble because he's supposed to be like the king, right? He has his own castle. He has his own like servants and stuff too, right? So yeah, I upon further inspection, I understand the name Noble Victories. I think it's actually a pretty cool name. It's another one just like Unseen Forces. It's not an S tier. Not an S tier, I can tell you that. But it is another one like that set where I can understand where they're coming from with the name. And it has multiple meanings. You know what? No, it's definitely grown on me. I think it's the Kiram artwork down here. I think it's an A tier. Noble Victories. I think it's like a low A tier. Like, I wouldn't put it much higher than like... I wouldn't put it much higher than... Honestly, I just put it right above Black and White base. I don't think it goes super high in A tier, in all honesty. I'm definitely going to rearrange some of these at the end, but I am going to leave it for a little bit later on, just so I don't spend too much time rearranging, and I can just go through these sets kind of as quickly as possible. Next, Destinies. So this was the first set to ever feature, like, modern EX cards. And they do the thing, like I mentioned earlier, where every set, for a while, just actually the next three, Next Destinies, Dark Explorers, Dragons Exalted, all use the EX gimmick to their advantage, where it's Dragons EX Alted, next NEX Destinies, and then Dragons X Alted, EX Alted. And that's really cool. As for Next Destinies, I like the use of Destiny more in Neo Destiny. I think the whole light versus dark Pokemon makes a lot more sense. Like, oh, what's your true destiny? Here, though, Next Destiny is just kind of another black and white era set. Obviously, you have, like, the Reshiram and the Zekrom EX. Sure, I guess those could be Destiny. I haven't played Black and White, so maybe there's a whole thing about Destiny in there. Maybe that's a huge theme of the story that I'm just missing. But other Pokemon, you know, you have Mewtwo, Regigigas, Shaman. What part about those really show Destinies or, like, Next Destiny? So, like, this is your future Destinies. But it is one of the only sets that I feel like can get away with using a word like next. Like next, after, like forever. You know, those are hard words for them to use, and there's a reason that they really haven't used them before. But Next Destinies really does work. You know, you have a lot of sets later on that are really just adjective noun. Vivid Voltage, Shining Fates. You know, those are adjectives to describe something and then noun to describe what the set is. Next Destinies. I do not believe, in all my time with the English language, that next is an adjective. It'd be really embarrassing if it was. Let's Google that real quick. I'm pretty sure next is... I don't think it's a noun. What part of speech is next? What part of speech is next? Never mind. Well, okay. It could be an adjective, so maybe I am wrong. If it immediately follows the nearest position in time. So if it says turn to the next page, then it's an adjective. However, it could be an adverb as well. So if it's like next, comma, we drove home. I'm just using the Google dictionary definitions here. Or it could be a preposition or a noun. So it really could be anything. So it could be noun, noun, could be adverb, noun. Really could be whatever you want it to be. The point I'm trying to make is I like the name. It's an A tier name. Next Destinies. It's really cool. You got the EX in there, next. I like it. I think I'd put it above Hidden Legends, Next Destinies. I think it's a really cool name, even if it doesn't really apply much, other than the fact that it is kind of a new era for the card game. It's the first time we got ultra rare EX cards, which have stuck around throughout all of X and Y, and then kind of made a resurgence in a weird way in Scarlet and Violet. Even though those cards in name are lowercase EX, they share much more in common with the EXs of the Black and White and Scarlet, of the Black and White and X and Y era, rather, than they do anything in common with the original EX era cards. Next up is Dark Explorers. So, Dark Explorers is an interesting name because it's cool. It's kind of badass. Oh, what's your set name? Dark Explorers. But then you think about it, and what does it mean? What does it mean to explore the dark? The whole point of the dark is that you can't see anything. And they've used dark in the past to describe, like, evil Pokemon. But none of the Pokemon in the set are really evil. I guess you could argue Darkrai. But even then, Darkrai has this whole, like, anti-hero thing going on, where it doesn't mean to cause nightmares. It just does. Now, that is definitely arguable because I think of like the pocket art card from like Space Time Smackdown, where it's like actively putting its hand shadow over the little girl sleeping. And that one, yeah, it's definitely evil. But in other media, you have Darkrai just trying to live its life, and it just causes chaos and destruction everywhere it goes. So I don't even know if I would call it like Dark Explorers in that regard. Maybe in the sense that like it explores at darkness, you know. It is definitely a Pokemon that only comes out at night and really only explores at nighttime. But even then, if we're naming a set after just one Pokemon inside of it, I don't know how much praise I can give it, because other Pokemon in the set are like Groudon Kyogre, Raikou, Tornadus, Entei, there's like a shiny Archeops and Gardevoir. None of those even make remotely any sense as like dark exploring kind of cards. Like, they work, I guess. Like, the name is fine, it works. It's kind of a sick name, but honestly, I think it's a solid C tier, unfortunately. I think it's like I think it's probably a little bit below EX Emerald just because it doesn't really make a lot of sense as a name for a set, at least in my opinion. Next up it's Dragons Exalted, right? Yep, Dragons Exalted. Exalted is definitely a word I'm gonna have to look up real quick. What does it mean to be exalted? Exalted is an adjective that describes something or someone raised to a high or elevated level of power, status, or moral character. Dragons Exalted. So they've like gotten stronger? Obviously, it's a set themed around Rayquaza and Giratina, and I think like Gyarados is another big one in the set for some reason. But are they really raised to a new power? Honestly, if there was Mega Evolution in the set, if they called like Roaring Skies, like Dragons Exalted, I would argue that would make a lot more sense for that set. Honestly, I would argue that this set and XY Roaring Skies should have swapped names, because I think that Roaring Skies, while it works for that set, would work better for Dragons Exalted, because Dragons Exalted, yes, features a lot of dragon types, but those dragon types are more often going to be like roaring in the sky versus like raising to a new power level, versus Roaring Skies, which is Mega Rayquaza, Mega Latios. You know, those dragons are exalted. They're on a whole nother level of strength. As is, though, Dragons Exalted. Exalted is just kind of a cool word, sorry. Like, it doesn't slip off the tongue. Exalted. You definitely have to say it and know what you're saying. But I think it's just a cool name. Like, oh, what's your name? My name is Dragons Exalted. It's just kind of a sick name. What can I say? And let's see if I can find... Yeah, Dragons Exalted right there. Is it really just going to be EX Sandstorm didn't load? Just the one? Because that'd be kind of annoying. Dragons Exalted, it's fine. It's a C tier set. It's like it's probably above... Like, I'd probably put it above Team Rocket Returns, sure. But, like, it's fine. It explains what it is to an extent, but at the same time, Exalted kind of loses me a little bit. Dragon Vault. Kind of a bad name. Low-key, kind of, right? Because, yeah, we're opening this vault of Dragon-type cards, but this vault, quote-unquote, is like 18 cards, I think. I can actually check. 20 cards, my bad. It's 20 cards, 4 of which are like item cards. You have like EXP share and like a Super Rod as holo trainers in the set. And the rest of the cards are dragon types. I'll give them that. And they do actually have dragon type cards. Like, their typing is actually dragon. It's not like normal that they did in the past. You know, it is just a new type added to the card game. But it's just not a great name. Again, Dragon Vault. It's definitely better than EX Dragon, which isn't saying a lot. Every other set other than base set 2 has been better than EX Dragon at the very least. But Dragon Vault. I don't really think of this set as a vault that I'm opening up. In that regard, I think this might be another F tier. Yes, this is the first time we've ever gotten dragon types in the card game. Yes, Dragon makes a ton of sense to be here, because it's all dragon type Pokemon, again, except for like the Super Rod, blah blah blah. Dragon Vault, though, just kind of a bad name. Just kind of like not the best name. I'm going to put it right above... I'll put it at the top of F tier, because there is worse. I think that the Heart Gold Steel Silver sets are worse. I think Expedition Base is much more confusing. Merging Powers, great encounter, some of the worst generic names I've ever heard. And then EX Dragon and Base Set 2 are EX Dragon and Base Set 2. So there's definitely worse out there, but it's also not my favorite set name ever. Not even close. Boundaries crossed. Black and white boundaries crossed. Black and white boundaries crossed. I don't understand what boundaries we're crossing. Whether it's we're going to like a new country, we're crossing the boundaries like, whoa, dude, you've gone way too far, you sick monster. You know, I don't really get that either. It's like a Keldeo theme set, right? And like a black and white Kyurem. I guess the boundaries crossed are that we're like fusing like inhumanly like Reshiram and Kyurem or Zekrom and Kyurem together, kind of just like DNA splicing them together in an artificial, unnatural way. But everything else, you know, is like Celebi, Keldeo, Cresselia. You have like Bianca, Charon, Skyla as full art trainers. Like, what does that really tell me about boundaries being crossed? Not much. It's definitely a very unique name. The thing about a lot of sets in the XY Sun and Moon Sword and Shield era is they like to recycle words a lot. Like, I think of like Phantom Forces, Phantasmal Flames, Obsidian Flames, Phantasmal Flames. You have Shining, Hidden, Paldean Fates, you know? They use a lot of similar adjectives and nouns in the later eras, where I don't think they've ever used boundaries or crossed ever again. In that regard, I think it's a super unique name for a card set. On the other hand, I think it's still like a C. I would give it a B. I think I'm going to give it a B just because I do like the name Boundaries Crossed. I think it's cool. I think it can go like underneath Diamond and Pearl base set because Boundaries Crossed. You're crossing boundaries, which again doesn't really fit the set, but sure, it works as a name. Now let's talk about the Platinum sets. So there's 3 of them. There is Plasma Storm, Plasma Freeze, and Plasma Blast. I think I'm going to go a little out of order here. I think Plasma Blast is the worst. When I think Plasma Blast, it's like a joke I like to make all the time, where it's like, I made a movie called The Money 2. A movie with quote unquote. And the whole joke at the end was that, like, the boss character is obsessed with root beer, and he used his root beer blast. I think of like a crappy anime whenever I hear the word blast. Like, you're not ready for my powerful Plasma Blast. And in that regard, I think it's a terrible name. And again, it's probably going to be much like a Team Rocket Return situation, where I guess in a way it makes sense. Plasma Blast, they fire a lot of lasers. Sure, whatever. But on the other hand, I just do not like the name. Where is Mr. Plasma Blast? There's Plasma Freeze, there's Plasma Storm right there. Plasma Blast that has like an orange artwork on it. There it is. Okay, yeah, this is like a, honestly, like very bottom of D. Like, it is really bad. Like, not my favorite set name at all. Plasma Storm is cool. Plasma Storm. Storm is just an objectively cool word. I keep saying world instead of word. It's just a really cool word. Word is the word I'm looking for. Plasma Storm. It's like a thunderstorm. You know, thunderstorms are inherently cool. Storms are inherently cool. Plasma Storm. B tier. And obviously I don't have to explain why it's called that. Plasma. The whole gimmick of the set is Team Plasma's Pokemon. Team Plasma is the main villain of Black 2 and White 2 and Black and White 1 as well. But yeah, they're just attacking. So Plasma Storm. It's their storm of rage attacking everything. However, I think Plasma Freeze is the best of the 3. Because in Black and White 2, they straight up freeze the entire town. And what was always funny about that to me was it never gets, like, undone. Like, there was definitely people straight up, like, trapped inside of their houses because of the giant icicles now on the ground. And they probably could not get out, and they either starved or froze to death, because by the end of the game, it doesn't melt. It just stays there. Like, this town is now just forever frozen in, like, this ice age. And in a way, I guess that's kind of, like, terrifying. But what I'm trying to get at here is Plasma Freeze is a great name because Team Plasma froze this entire town as, like, this terrorist act where they wanted to get a reaction out of people, so they just were like, fuck it, we're just gonna freeze the whole town, kill lots of people. Banger move, by the way, for a villain team. Like, never has the stakes been much higher than that. Maybe other than, like, Team Flare ending the world, but Team Flare is also, like, this goofy-ass, like, rich people society. Team Plasma is like, no, this is, like, a terrifying cult. And yes, they froze a city. So in a way, I think Plasma Freeze might be our 3rd S tier of the video. At the end, I'm sure I might move a couple of these A tiers up to S tier. But right now, I think it is I think it's a great name for a set. Honestly, if Plasma Blast and Plasma Storm didn't exist and it was just Plasma Freeze, I think I'd be perfectly fine with that. Because at the end of the day, low-key, all the sets are pretty much the same. Obviously, the Team Plasma EXs and the shiny secret rares in the set do change depending on the set, but like none of them are specific to being either Freeze, Storm, or Blast. It really is just whoever they chose for those sets. And to finish off the Black and White era, we have Black and White Legendary Treasures. Legendary Treasures. Okay, so I guess we're talking about like the Radiant Collection here, right? Where it's a treasure, I guess. It's the second time they use treasure, and the second time I don't think it really worked out for them, because in Mysterious Treasures, one of the things I said about that is I didn't understand what the mysterious part or the treasure part was talking about. Legendary Treasures, I guess the treasures are like the cool Radiant Collection cards. They have too many Pokemon cards called the exact same thing, like Radiance and then Radiant Collection cards. Give me a little slack here. The Radiant Collection cards have like these cool like diamond chandelier patterns on the bottom of them. And in a way, I guess you could describe that as a treasure. However, I don't really see the legendary part of the name. Yes, you have the gold and the gold full art Reshiram and Zekrom cards. I think this is the last set before I take a little break because my brain is going a million miles an hour, as you can probably tell. You have the gold Reshiram and Zekrom. And then I guess you have like Kyurem EX, which is a reprint from Noble Victories, I believe. So like cool, I guess. You have a normal Zekrom EX in the set. Like there is legendary Pokemon here, but to my knowledge, there is no legendary Pokemon in the Radiant Collection. There's mythical Pokemon. There's Mew. There's Meloetta. There's Shaman. Yeah, there's mythical Pokemon, but they've made a distinction before. I personally think of legendaries and mythicals as the same thing, but I'm thinking of like Pokemon Pocket, right? Mythical Island was the second set they did there. Like they have no problem using the word mythical if they wanted to. So the choice of calling it Legendary Treasures just seems incorrect. I think honestly, if it was Mythical Treasures, I think that would be a much better name. As is, it works. I understand what they're going for. Yes, there's legendary Pokemon here. Yes, the Radiant Collection is a treasure. So, okay, I understand what they're going for. That being said, it's probably still C. I'm going to put it, like, above... I'll put it above, like, Team Rocket. I'll put it above Team Rocket Returns. It is, like, up there as one of my favorite sets ever. So it's hard for me to say, like, oh, yeah, the name is bad. Trust me, we'll get there when we talk about XY, because my favorite set ever does have a very unfortunate name. But Legendary Treasures just doesn't really work. I think Mythical Treasures would have just straight up been a better name. And screw it, I said I would stop after Black and White, but I'm having a great time for some reason, just yapping about nothing. So let's do X and Y too. X and Y base set, might be F. Honestly, might be F tier. See, I understand what they're going for with X and Y as game names, because we're entering the third dimension. X and Y was the first game to be 3D, so obviously you have X, Y, and, well, we should have had Z, because Z was the third dimension. And that, in regard, is what confused me the most, is that we never had Pokemon Z. Not in the sense that, like, oh, they should have made the game, it would have been so good. Just in a naming sense. Because X and Y are still 2D dimensions. This was the first game to have 3 dimensions. In a way, it would make sense if Z was one of the first ones, as opposed to the third version that never happened. Obviously, we had ZA later on, but that's different. That was 10 years later. That was way after the XY era of cards ended. As is, just XY doesn't really work as a name for me. I would honestly say it's F tier. It's just not a good name, XY. What does that tell you? What does X and Y tell you about the cards? Oh yeah, I opened X and Y. Sure, Xerneas is shaped like an X. Yveltal is supposedly shaped like a Y, but like, are they? Xerneas doesn't, its legs don't go out like an X would, and Yveltal has to be in a very specific pose to make that Y shape. So X and Y are just kind of unfortunate names, especially without Z being there, at least in my opinion. We'll jump over to Flashfire, I believe is the second XY series set. There are some sets I exempted, like Pokemon Rumble and like the XY Kalos starter set or whatever, just because I didn't really want to talk about them. Ooh, actually, I forgot one though. I put a POP series set on the list. Where is it? And the POP series set is just to represent the POP series of sets. I do not actually know what POP stands for. Is it like, it's probably something promos. It's not telling me. No, it's telling me about PSA populations. That's not what I'm looking for. It's gotta be like Pokemon League promos. I know that's PLP, but like Pokemon Occasion promos or something. Because the only way to get these packs, I believe, I wasn't alive when they came out, so correct me if I'm wrong, was through official Nintendo events. So it must be something along those lines, but I only put this here so I can clown on it and put it at the bottom of F, because POP Series 9, what does that even mean? At least base set 2, you get something. You get, it's a sequel, remake, whatever, of base set. POP? What the hell does that even mean? Anyway, little side note aside, let's continue with X and Y here. With Flash Fire is the second one. Flash Fire. Obviously, this is the first of many Charizard sets to come in this video. I think there's actually 5, right? Because there's one in each era. There's Flash Fire, there's Burning Shadows, there's Darkness Ablaze, Obsidian Flames, and Phantasmal Flames. Oh, and Crimson Blaze, too, in Pocket. That's what? That's 6 more Charizard sets other than this one to talk about. So there is 7 total, and Flash Fire honestly might be one of the better ones name-wise. Flash Fire. It's a fire that happens quickly. It's a Flash Fire. It works, especially for like Mega Charizard Y. The whole thing is that it uses a lot of like Fire Blast, right? Which is like the Japanese symbol for fire. I'm not going to try and say it in case I get it wrong. But it's like the symbol for Fire Blast. We all know what it looks like. It's what Mega Pyro's main is supposed to look like and kind of fails at. So in a way, Flash Fire makes a lot of sense in that regard. And honestly, would I give it an A? Is it that good of a set? Flash Fire. XY Flash Fire. I mean, I think it works. I'd give it an A. I think it works perfectly fine. It tells you exactly what it is. I think it's definitely bottom. I'm going to move Hidden Legend down as well. I think Hidden Legend is probably the weakest of A tier. At least of what I have so far. I'll put Flash Fire... No, I'll put Flash Fire above, like, Neo Genesis. I think it can sit, like, right there pretty safely. And yeah, I think it works. I think it tells you exactly what it is. I think it's a cool name. Sure, I could argue that, like, Magnezone or Toxicroak EX aren't, like, Flash Fire because they're not fire types. But, I don't know. I like the name, alright? Give me some slack. Furious Fists. Furious Fists. I feel like I have a lisp. Furious Fists when I'm saying it. Not my favorite. It's not my favorite set either, so I have no problem clowning on it. Furious Fists. I get it. It's a Lucario set, it's a Heracross set, it's a Tyrantrum set. You know, those Pokemon punch. Well, I guess Tyrantrum can't punch because it has no arms, but well, it has arms, it's just T-Rex arms, you know? So, Furious Fist, you know, you have like Fighting Stadium and Battle Reporter as a full art. I understand what they're going for, but I think it doesn't work. I would actually say a set like Pulsing Aura in Pokemon Pocket gets the idea across better than Furious Fists. And it's also just a lot of S's. Furious Fists. You know, you got that S at the end, and I just don't think it sounds very good. I think this might be another... I don't think it's bad. I think it's D. I think it's a solid, like, middle of D. Like, probably... It's better than Platinum base set and, like, Jungle and Fossil. But I think I do prefer... maybe it's better than EX Power Keepers. I do prefer a Haul on Phantoms or a Legendary Collection now over it. We got Phantom Forces. And the only thing I could think about when I think of the name Phantom Forces is on Roblox, way back in the day, there was like this first-person shooter, like this gritty first-person shooter. I'm still going. Okay, I thought I stopped filming. Ignore the mouse clicks. Yeah, there was this like gritty first-person shooter Roblox game called Phantom Forces, and it came out around the same time that I was opening these cards, and that's all I connect it to is that game. But as a name, Phantom Forces. Is it like... Phantom is obviously Mega Gengar, and Aegislash, right? Aegislash EX is another big card in the set. But Forces. Is it like Forces of Nature? Is it Forces as in like Forces of an Army? Another like Aegislash reference? I'd have to see what's in the set. What would cause it to be called Phantom Forces? Like the Forces of Ghost types? Like you have Gengar and Mega Gengar. You have a Chandelure Hollow, a Gourgeist Hollow. But is that enough to call it Phantom Forces? No, not really. Mega Manectric doesn't fit either Forces or Phantom. I think this might be another C tier. I think it's a C tier because I like the name, but I don't really like love the name. You know, I think it might be like a Platinum Arceus Legends Awakened kind of area, where yes, it makes sense for the cards in it to an extent, but at the same time, it's just kind of it doesn't fit all of them, and it's just not a great name. Primal Clash. Ooh, XY Primal Clash might be my favorite name for a Pokemon card set. Primal Clash is not my favorite card set they've ever made. It's probably not... Actually, I think it was like top 40. I was gonna say it might not be top 10. I did a video on this. I think I ranked it pretty high, actually. But it's such a good name. Holy crap, dude. It's definitely my favorite of all the ones I've talked about so far. Like, Legend Maker, yeah, it's a cool name. I love it. But Primal Clash, never has a set name been so perfect. You have Primal Groudon and Primal Kyogre clashing, just like they do in Omega Ruby and Alpha Sapphire. That's what Groudon and Kyogre do, is they clash. They're always at odds, and then Big Brother Rayquaza has to come down and stop them. Obviously, Rayquaza is not in the set. They saved it for Roaring Skies next. So it is just truly a chaotic clash of primal Pokemon. You have this huge emphasis on Omega Ruby and Alpha Sapphire. You have like trainer cards like Wally and Archie's Ace in the Hole and Maxie's Hidden Ball Trick, as well as like a lot of EXs like Camerupt and Sharpedo to fit the evil team leaders. It's just such a great name, and it truly encompasses the whole Team Magma versus Team Aqua thing that I guess, obviously, ironically enough, EX Team Magma versus Team Aqua is trying to accomplish and kind of failed at, where it has this huge emphasis on Gen 3 Pokemon, it has an emphasis on them clashing, it has an emphasis on, like, the primals and the story of the game. Mwah. Chef's kiss name for a set. Whoever came up with it should get a raise, if they're not still working at Pokemon, that is. Double Crisis, on the other hand, I think is actually very similar to Furious Fists, where it has too many S's. Double Crisis. I always thought it was Double Crisis as a kid because I was a stupid, dumb idiot. And I guess that's a telltale for their like demographic there. If I, as a kid, who granted, I guess I was like average intelligence. Maybe if I keep saying intelligence, I might be even more stupid. That's my Pokemon brain taking over with my Inteleon there. I would say I'm not stupid, but I'm also not, like, smart. So if I, as, like, a 10-year-old couldn't figure out that it's Double Crisis and I thought it was Double Crisis, then, like, you know, could a kid really figure out what Double Crisis is telling them? No. And, like, double. I don't like the word double there either, because, yes, obviously it's Team Magma's Groudon, Team Magma's Aqua. You have two forces at work there. And, yeah, it's a crisis, but I think of crisis, like, oh my god, my grandma fell down and she's crawling like the crisis emergency line. Or like a child's getting abused and they call it the crisis line. You know, I don't think of crisis as like, oh my god, these two titans, one of like landmass and one of water, are like fighting each other. I don't really think of that as a crisis. That's like a doomsday. If this was like double doomsday, that would be a fire name for a set. It might make more sense. And I don't know, Double Crisis doesn't really flow off the tongue that well. So honestly, I'm going to put it... it's either F or D. I just don't know if I like it enough. I think it's an F. Honestly, it's not my favorite name for a set ever. Double Crisis, where is it? There it is. Okay, Double Crisis. I think it's like a Dragon Vault, Heart Gold, Soul Silver, where the names work. Actually, I think it's worse than Heart Gold, Soul Silver. I'm going to put it down here. Worse than Expedition. Worse than XY. Yeah, I think it goes down there. I think it's a pretty stinky name that doesn't really get the point across at all. Let's talk about Roaring Skies. Obviously, I could tell you the same thing I told you earlier when I was talking about Dragons Exalted, how they should have swapped names. I still stand by that, obviously. Roaring Skies, though, I think works much better as a set name. Because, yes, Rayquaza is definitely roaring in the skies. And I could also see like a Skyform Shaman roaring in the skies. I could see a Mega Latios roaring in the skies. Not so much with Deoxys, which is the other main Pokemon in the set, but he's definitely in the skies. He can fly, so yeah, he'll be up there. Just like Omega Ruby. He's the little triangle thing at the end of the Delta episode. He's up there. So Roaring Skies, it's a cool name. You know, if I was flying a plane and they said, welcome to Roaring Skies, you know, and that's like the name of the airline, I would get it. I think that's a cool name to an extent. It's either B or A, honestly. It's not an S tier name. It's definitely a lower A if it is an A. I'll give it an A. You know what? I'm feeling generous right now. We'll give it a lower A. I'll put it like above. I'll put it above Black and White, but below Noble Victories. I think Noble Victories works better as a name, but Roaring Skies is a solid name. Ancient Origins. Oh my god, Ancient Origins? That's going right up next to Primal Clash. I think it gets the same idea across as Primal Clash. Ancient Origins. These are beasts of origins from a time way before us. They're ancient, and finding their origins, these primal reversions, which in a sense are the original forms, at least in lore, of Groudon and Kyogre. It's such a sick name. And you also have like the shiny versions of them, which are all black, which adds to the whole like ancient origins element of the set. And obviously the pack art I have for the tier list here has Hoopa. Hoopa, also in lore, is like this ancient being. In the movie, it could like bring all these legends from different time periods. Ancient Origins is such a great name for a set. Honestly, I've talked myself out of Primal Clash being my favorite. I think Ancient Origins is actually better. A better name for a set like this than Primal Clash, which is saying a lot because I love Primal Clash. It's straightforward, it tells you exactly what it is, it's also a sick name. But Ancient Origins does all that and more. It's a really good set name. As for Breakthrough, so obviously we have break cards now. That's their whole gimmick they're leaning on here. And I get it. We're breaking through the ice. We're breaking through evolution. You know, these Pokemon are going beyond evolution. Even it's like different than Mega Evolution. It's weird because there was also Mega Evolutions in the set, which are also stereotypically known as going beyond evolution. But the break cards are literally, their whole gimmick is they break evolution. They go like sideways on top of the cards, and they get like 5 moves or something stupid like that. So in a way, Breakthrough, it's fine. It makes sense. It's a B tier. I'll give it a like a mid B tier above like Neo Revelation, sure. Breakpoint, on the other hand, is unfortunate because Breakpoint is one of my favorite card sets ever. If I wasn't trying to be unbiased in the ranking video, it is actually my number 1. I have such great memories of opening it as a kid, and I just love everything about it. However, Breakpoint is a name that has always just not made a lot of sense to me. Because obviously it comes from the term breaking point. Like, oh, I'm at my breaking point. And sure, I get it. It's a clever way to include break in the title. However, the term is breaking point. The term isn't break point. And getting rid of that ing in there really does make it a little bit clunkier. Like, breakpoint. What does that mean? Break point? Are you breaking a point? And even then, it should have been ing in there. And also, Breakpoint, other than obviously having break cards in the set, doesn't really tell me much about the set, other than the fact that breaks are in it. Like, all the packs had, like, Mega Scizor and Mega Shiny Gyarados on it, and then obviously, like, Break Luxray and Break Greninja. And only 2 of those 4 pack arts really fit the name Breakpoint. Like, Mega Gyarados, Mega Scizor, what does that have to do with Breakpoint at all? Honestly, it hurts. It hurts so much to say it's a very low D set, but it really is. At least we have the break in the name, and obviously the break cards. So like, yeah, I get it. I'll put it above Furious Fists because at least I can say it without spitting everywhere. But Breakthrough really is just a much better name, and they can probably tell that because they dropped the whole break point, or they dropped the whole break name going into the future sets like Fates Collide, Steam Siege, that kind of thing. First, we have to talk about Generations, though. Generations, I don't think it works. I think Celebrations for the 25th anniversary was a fantastic name. I think it works super well for a celebratory set. Generations celebrating the 20th anniversary of Pokemon does not work as well, because Generations is obviously like the different generations of Pokemon. And it would be cute if this set actually had like an even spread of Pokemon from every generation. However, this set is very Gen 1 heavy and Gen 6 heavy. Gens 2 through 5 get neglected in the long term. Sure, there is Gen 5 Pokemon in the set, there's Gen 2 Pokemon in the set. Some of those also get really sick looking Radiant Collection cards. But the name Generations, to me, implies that this is a generational set that's going to celebrate the 20th year of Pokemon by giving us these sick looking Pokemon cards from all the different generations, which it does not do on any level. It really is just Gen 1 and Gen 6 Pokemon for the most part, which is unfortunate because it's a great set. Love Generations. Love the Rating Collection. They need to bring it back. It was such a great thing. But the name, Generations, I think it's an F tier. Maybe a D, because the name is fine. The name works. I'll give it like a very low. I'll give it high D, actually. I'll put it like in the Crystal Guardians area. Like, it works. It suffices. But it kind of is a letdown in the regard that they could have done so much more with the name. Fates collide. Our fates are colliding. Don't understand how that has anything to do with Zygarde or Mega Alakazam. Our fates are colliding. So our fates, like, we have our predetermined fates, you know? I guess that's maybe like Alakazam, Future Sight can see into the future. That's like it's fates, right? And then collide, maybe it's because Alakazam is fighting Zygarde, or Zygarde's colliding to form its 50% or 100% form. It's a cool name. Fates collide. I like the word fates in this context more than I like in like Hidden or Shining or Paldean Fates. I think fates collide. I think fates works better as the first word of the adjective noun pairing. But fates collide, I think it's another like C or B tier. I think it might be like high B. I'm gonna put it, yeah, I'll put it high B. I like the name. Fates Collide is like an objectively sick name. However, it just is not one that works super well for what it's trying to tell you about the cards itself. So for that, I'm going to put it like maybe lower B. I'll put it like above EX Ruby and Sapphire and Violet Leaf Green. Like, sure, it can sit there. We have Steam Siege. I'm going to have to look up what a siege is. I know it has something to do with like the military. It's like it's like when you take over a piece of land, right? We'll look up what siege means. Is a military or police operation in which armed forces surround a city, building, or fortress to isolate it and force its surrender. So a steam siege. So the like Industrial Revolution 2 or whatever is taking over this city. Obviously, you have a lot of cards in the set that are like taking place in this like dystopian, like half taken over by plants, half like building kind of city. So Steam Siege, but siege is like if you siege a building. No, I get it. They're going with the double S, and in a regard, I think the name is cool. I still think it's an A tier set, but I don't get where the name is coming from. Steam Siege. Siege is like to isolate a building, like Google just told me. I don't really get that here. If it was like a hostile takeover, which I guess you could argue, if we really stretch the definition of the word siege, then it could be like a militaristic takeover. In that regard, I think Steam Siege makes a lot of sense because like the mechanical part is taking over the city, and that's like the whole gimmick with like Volcanion and Magearna. In that movie, I don't think I ever finished that movie, but the whole thing is that it's taking place in like a rustic England, like clock tower, gear, steampunk kind of city, and I get that same kind of vibe here. So I'll put it at the top of B, because I think it's a cool name. I like the Steam Siege. I like the alliteration of the double S's, but I still don't understand what the siege is doing in the name. And to finish us off, Evolutions, to finish X and Y. I think it's better than Generations. It's also celebrating the 20th anniversary Pokemon. It is our third set to reprint base set, and I believe it is, let's see, the third, actually it's the fourth set to reprint base set, because base set 2 and Legendary Collection. I'm just counting in my head real quick. I believe it is the 7th set to feature the base set Charizard in it, and it is also not the last. Evolutions, I don't get it. So I think honestly, 100% honesty, I think Generations would have made more sense to be the base set reprint, because it's like, oh, Generations have passed since the original base set or the original Gen 1. Evolutions is like the most generic name ever. I think in like Prismatic Evolutions, it makes more sense because that's featured around Eevee. Eevee has the split evolutions, like 8 different ways. So sure, evolutions there make sense, but evolutions on its own, without like a word before it, doesn't really work, like at all. I think it's just kind of a bad name. I think it doesn't tell you what you're going to get. I vividly remember the first time I opened Evolutions with my brother, we opened it and we were like, oh, it's old. Because we saw the name Evolutions and we were immediately like, oh, it's a base set reprint. If we saw the name like Celebrations or, God forbid, the newest hit they just revealed, 30th Anniversary Celebration, I feel like even as a 10-year-old, I would understand what that's trying to tell me. Evolutions, though, it's much like a Double Crisis, where I just misunderstood it as a kid, and I feel like in a way that's almost a failure to what it's trying to say. That being said, it's much better than Generations. I think it's a C-tier set. I think it works. I think the name makes sense if you really think about it, but I don't think it goes much higher than like maybe a Team Rocket. I think it goes right below Team Rocket. And yeah, I've been filming for 2 hours. Yep, hour 56. I'm gonna take a break. I'm gonna rest my voice, and we're gonna come and finish this another day. But for you, it's obviously gonna cut right to me finishing off Sun and Moon, Sword and Shield, Scarlet and Violet, Mega Evolution, and the Pocket sets. Okay, people, let's finish this, shall we? It's been about 2 weeks since I did the last part, so as I'm going, I will see if any of my opinions have changed on the sets I've already ranked. But we're basically just doing Sun and Moon, Sword and Shield, Scarlet and Violet, Mega Evolution, and then the Pocket packs. Ironically enough, the last time I did this was the same day they announced the 30th anniversary set. And today, they actually just announced that Delta Stream and, is it like Ruler of the Sky, as both the new TCG set and the new Pocket set. So I'll talk about those at the end, if I remember. If I don't, sorry, oops. What can you do? You got enough of me talking in this video. Now let's talk about Sun and Moon. Unless there's any other ones that I've forgotten to talk about, no, Sun and Moon it is. Sun and Moon. What do I think of the names Sun and Moon for the Pokemon games, and by extension, the card game? I think it's definitely one of the better ones. Way better than, like, XY. I think it's better than Diamond and Pearl. I don't think I can say it's better than Black and White. I do really like the name Sun and Moon. That's just a cool, like, obviously the Sun and the Moon, day and night, Sogale, Lunala, they're complete opposites from each other, much like Black and White, which is why I think it works just as well as Black and White. Now, Black and White is a perfect name for 2 games because obviously Black and White, yin and yang, it's the whole theme of Black and White. Sun and Moon, like, yeah, Sogale, Lunala are the main guys, the god of the sun and the god of the moon. But it's also like, doesn't have that same like triple meaning that the yin and the yang and Reshiram and Zekrom, Black and White, have to each other. Because you also have like the morality aspect of Black and White. Like somebody can't be 100% black or 100% white. They're like usually like a mixture of both sides of the same coin, if that makes any sense. Sun and Moon, likewise, very good name, but just not quite as good as Black and White. Guardians Rising is the next Sun and Moon set. Guardians Rising. I could see this either going really low on my list or really high on my list. Guardians Rising. It has a nice, like, ring to it. And it's the Guardians of the Island. It's the Tapus, right? Guardians Rising. The Guardians are, in fact, rising up. You know what? I'll give it a higher ranking. I like it. I don't know if it's A, Guardians Rising. Sun and Moon Guardians Rising. No, screw it. I'll give it an A. I think it's definitely the lowest A I'm going to give. But so far, so good, I suppose, with Sun and Moon. I always forget, is it Crimson Invasion or Burning Shadows first? This is why I'm going to pull it up. Sun and Moon, it's Burning Shadows, and actually Shining Legends before Crimson Invasion. Burning Shadows. Burning Shadows. Obviously, Burning is Charizard, Shadows is Marshadow, which are the 2 main Pokemon in the set. Now, that doesn't really tell me about the other 2 Pokemon in the set, which is Tapu Fini, as you can see there, which doesn't fit Burning or Shadows. And the other artwork is... oh, it's Ho-Oh. Never mind, that's definitely Burning. So Burning could actually be Ho-Oh and Charizard, and then Shadows is obviously just Marshadow. Burning Shadows. Sun and Moon Burning Shadows. Burning. I feel like Burning could have been better. Like, if it was like... I'm so bad with coming up with names for this. If it was like... I don't know what it could be. I guess Burning Shadows is a fine name. I just don't like the word burning. It's a bit too, like, on the nose, you know? Like fire. What do you do with fire? You burn it. And I don't love it when they use, like, flames or fire in the actual name of the set, like Obsidian Flames that we'll see later. I prefer when it's a bit more nuanced, you know? Like, you have Darkness Ablaze and you have Crimson Blaze. Those are a lot more interesting words for fire other than just burning. Because what does fire do? It burns. I get it, but I don't know. I think the name is good. At the end of the day, Burning Shadows does get the point across that it's a Charizard set. So I'll give it like a mid B, which is still really good, all things considered. I like it more than Breakthrough for sure. But yeah, I feel like they could have just used a synonym for fire and had it work even better. Shining Legends is an F tier set. Shining Legends, I believe, every single Shining Pokemon in this set is a mythical. And usually when people are like, oh, actually, it's a mythical Pokemon instead of a legendary Pokemon, I'm like, oh, boo hiss. You know, who cares? But win every Shining Pokemon in the set, maybe other than like Rayquaza. Okay, I think Rayquaza got a Shining Pokemon in this set. Sure, that's a Shining Legendary, whatever. But they're all mythicals, and we have the pocket set Mythical Island, so clearly Pokemon is interested in making this clarification real, so the fact that just the name is kind of wrong, like, yes, obviously Shining makes sense, it's Shining Pokemon, sure, bit on the nose, but whatever, but Legends is just completely incorrect, and because of that, I think it is definitely an F tier. I think it's like a little bit better than Expedition base set, but not much better than that. As for Crimson Invasion, where does the Crimson come from? Invasion, obviously, this is the Ultra Beast set, right? So they are invaders from other worlds. So obviously, that's where Invasion comes from. Crimson, though, is it literally just because Buzzwole is red? Am I missing something else? Crimson Invasion. Like, it sounds cool. I'll give it that. I like the name from a, like, name perspective. Like, it sounds cool to say. But I don't like, red. Where does red come from? I don't know. I think it's another, Where? I think Sun and Moon is actually really good with the name so far. Other than the misstep that was Shining Legends, like Burning Shadows, Guardians Rising, even Sun and Moon base set. Those are all really good names for sets. But Crimson Invasion. I don't know. I feel like this might be like a low B. I think this is like a Fates Collide kind of tier set. Where, like, yeah, Fates Collide is a cool name, but it also doesn't really tell me much about the set. Crimson Invasion does tell me a bit about the set, but the Crimson part of it just doesn't make much sense to me. Because sure, Buzzwole's red, Silvali's red. Is that really where the Crimson comes from? Because that's a little bit underwhelming if it is. And next up is Ultra Prism, I believe. Ultra Prism. What the hell does that mean? Ultra Prism? Is it because Prism Star Pokemon? Ultra Prism. The Prism is Ultra? Is it because Necrozma is like the Prism Pokemon or whatever because it's a beam of light? So it's Ultra Prism, like Ultra Sun and Moon plus Necrozma being a Prism plus Prism Star? Is that where it comes from? Either way, it just doesn't sound good. Ultra Prism? What is that? That's... It's either a D or an F. Ultra Prism. I don't think there's any redeeming qualities of that. Like, I get it. It's Necrozma. It's Prism. Sure. And Ultra Sun and Moon. Ultra Prism. It feels like they just kind of slapped it together. So, I'll put it above Shining Legends. Sure. It works for me. And then it's Forbidden Light. And remember, we're not talking about the sets themselves, we're talking about the names. So Forbidden Light as a name. Forbidden Light. This light is forbidden. Obviously, it's Ultra Necrozma, which is like this giant glowing light source, basically. And it's forbidden. It's always been locked away. Forbidden is just such a cool word. Forbidden. Like, this is forbidden. It will not pass, you know? Forbidden Light. I think it's just a cool name. You know, again, say what you will about the set, and I have, believe me. Where is Forbidden Light? There it is. I think it's a pretty cool name. I don't think it's S tier, but Forbidden Light. I think it works super well. I think it's like above Roaring Sky. So I don't think it goes much higher than that. Um, Maybe I'll put it above Noble Victories. Is that what that set is? I can't even read it. Yeah, Noble Victories. So, yeah. Cool. I don't know what else you want me to say. Some of these are going to be pretty brief, huh? Celestial Storm. Ooh, Celestial Storm. I love that name. Celestial is such a cool word. And obviously we have Celestial Guardians from Pocket, but Celestial Storm. And it's Rayquaza. Now let's look up what Celestial means, just so I have the exact definition. I know it's to do with space and like the stars. What's the definition of Celestial? Celestial means relating to the sky, the visible heavens, or the universe beyond Earth's atmosphere. Okay, so Rayquaza can definitely fit it. I don't really see how it fits like Blaziken, which is another pack art, or Articuno, I believe is another one. Like, it is definitely such a Rayquaza focused name, but Rayquaza is the main focus of Celestial Storm, and I'm willing to look past it because the name is so cool. I think I'd put it like, I think I'd put it above Unseen. No, no, it's bottom of S because all those other names in S have double meaning. Celestial Storm, like, yeah, Rayquaza's gonna summon a Celestial Storm, but it doesn't really go much deeper than one meaning. All the other 5 sets up there, you know, they have 2, if not 3 or 4 different meanings hidden within, other than maybe Legend Maker, which is why I'm actually gonna drop Legend Maker down there. There we go. Those 4 sets have double meanings, which I think are really cool. But Legend Maker, Celestial Storm, those are just sick names for sets. We got Dragon Majesty. Dragon Majesty. Obviously, Majesty is to, like, be a king, right? Or be a ruler. Dragon Pokemon, obviously, are very powerful. They're very strong, and they're definitely rulers. Dragons in, like, all fantasy movies and books and games and whatever are these big, powerful beasts that are almost like kings of beasts, if that makes any sense. So, Dragon Majesty, I get it. I just really hate the word dragon here. I think even if it was like Draconic Majesty, that's just a better name than Dragon Majesty. Like, Majesty is a great word to use for a dragon themed set, which is why I'm going to give it D instead of F, but Dragon, it's just, it doesn't work. It didn't work for Dragonfall, it didn't work for EX Dragon. I liked it in EX Dragon Frontiers, but it's different. I don't know why it's different. Dragon Majesty versus Dragon Frontiers. I think it's because of the added syllables in Frontiers that makes it so much cooler. Dragon Majesty is just, it just kind of falls off the tongue and then you forget about it. Because of that, I'll give it a higher D. I think it's probably better than like Furious Fists. But man, it's just, why did you use the word dragon? Anything else would have worked better. Lost Thunder. Lost Thunder. So it's lost because the Pokemon in the set have to do with the Lost Zone. And the Lost Zone is basically a card mechanic where you can put cards in the Lost Zone. And from what I remember, the Lost Zone is like, you just put it in like the middle of the playing mat. And, yeah. Other than that, Lost Thunder. How is Thunder lost? If anything, that doesn't make much sense because Thunder is such, like, opposing and powerful and in your face that, like, how do you lose Thunder? And lost. What else? What are the Pokemon in the set? You have, like, Celebi, Zeraora, obviously Zeraora, Thunder. What? How does that make any sense? I think there's, like, a Ho-Oh and Lugia in this set. Don't really have to do much with Thunder. Who else is in Lost Thunder? There's Magcargo GX. I don't think that's one of the main guys, though. Yeah, Lost Thunder is not a great name. Sun and Moon was off to a really strong start, and then it kind of went off a cliff other than Celestial Storm. Lost Thunder, it's just, it's fine. I'll give it a C. You know, it's whatever. It's probably, it's better than Mysterious Treasures, I guess. But it's fine. I understand the name Lost because of the Lost Zone, Thunder because of Zeraora, but it feels like we literally just slapped 2 words together, I suppose. Is it Detective Pikachu next? Yeah, it's Detective Pikachu. What else are we gonna call it? All right, like, I'm sorry, like, it's for the Detective Pikachu movie. There's literally no other name we could have called it. Because of that, it's going right next to base set. Because I said the exact same thing about base set. This set can only be called Detective Pikachu. No other name makes sense for it. Team up. Because they're teaming up. Wow, very original today, aren't we? It's literally just because of tag teams. So Sun and Moon team up. I mean, you can't say that the name is false advertising. You get what you get. Um, what do I think of it though? I think it's a solid C. It's like another like nothing burger of a name. Like there is not much to go off here. I think it might be like I think it's better than like Detective Pikachu or Base Set because it's a little more creative, but it is like the bare minimum this set needed to be called. Like again, it makes sense, which is why it's not a bad name. Team up because the Pokemon are teaming up with another Pokemon, but it's just boring. You know, there's nothing to talk about there. Is it Unbroken Bonds? So for both of the next team up sets, they did something. So it's Unbroken Bonds and then Unified Minds and Unbroken Bonds. Unbroken. That's a weird way to say it. Like bonds, I get it. It's because again they're tag teams, so they're working together. But I feel like it should be like unbreakable bonds, right? Doesn't that make more sense than unbroken bonds? Unbroken. Is that even like a word? Like I understand that unspace broken would be a word, but unbroken, like no space in between it, just slapped together. That can't be a word, is it? Unbroken? It's unspace broken. I don't know. But unbroken just doesn't really work for me. Again, I don't know what happened to Sun and Moon, but it's really falling off towards the end here. Where's Unbroken Bonds? There's Unified Minds. I'll bring that to the front for the next one. Unbroken Bonds is not on here? Am I just missing it? Yeah, I am just missing it. It's right here. Okay. Unbroken Bonds. Eh. I guess it's a fine name. It's like a C tier. I think it's one of the better C tiers. Like I'd put it like above Team Rocket Returns for sure. But Unbroken just rubs me the wrong way for some reason. Unified Minds. Much better name. Unified Minds. It's a Mewtwo set. It's Mewtwo and Mew are the main guys of the set. So Unified Minds. Perfect name for that. Everybody else doesn't really make that much sense. The other guys are like Rowlet and Executor, right? And I guess like they each have like a brain cell, so maybe their minds are unified. I don't know. Um, what other Pokemon? Garchomp and Giratina, I believe, is another one. Lucario, Melmetal. Those aren't really like unified minds. Those are more like Pokemon that are just working together. The name only really works for Mew and Mewtwo, but the name is so perfect for Mew and Mewtwo that I can't help but put it in A tier. I think probably a little higher in A tier too. I think Unified Minds not only makes sense for the Mew and Mewtwo combo, but it's also just a cool name. Unified Minds. It's just it definitely sticks with you. Hidden Fates. So the first of the Fates, huh? And well, you know what? I'll go a little bit out of order here. Give me Hidden Fates, give me Shining Fates, and give me Paldean Fates. We'll just do all of them in a row. So the Fates part of it, I don't get. Which is funny because Fates was used in all three sets. Hidden for Hidden Fates makes sense because the shiny Pokemon are hidden in the reverse holo slot of the pack. Fates, though, I don't get. Is it like fate that you would find shiny Pokemon? Is it because shiny Pokemon are rare in the game, so it was fate that you're supposed to meet them here? And then hidden fates. Is it because shiny Pokemon, again, are like hidden from most players on their first playthrough, so it's like the shiny Pokemon are hidden in the packs, so it's hidden fates? I think, honestly, if it was hidden shiny, it would have been a better name. Because hidden fates, honestly, like taking everything I know about this out of the context, if you told me a set was called Hidden Fates, my first thought wouldn't be, oh, it's shiny Pokemon. My thought would be like, okay, well, something's hidden in here. I gotta go find it. You know, and I feel like that's a failure of a set name in a way that Shining Fates is actually much better because, well, much less creative of a name actually tells me that there's shiny Pokemon in this set. Now, Paldean Fates, I think it's also kind of stinky because, again, Paldean Fates, not knowing that it's a shiny set. Paldean Fates. What does that tell me? I think that's going to be like a rival themed set, you know? I think I'm going to find like Nemona and Arven's Pokemon in the set because it's fate that we ran into each other, and Paldea makes me think of the region, which makes me think more of the people than the shiny Pokemon. So I'm actually going to rank Shining Fates a tier higher than the other two, and I think that Hidden Fates and Paldean Fates can sit at the top of D because the names are cool. Especially Hidden Fates. That's why it's better than Paldean Fates. Paldean Fates is a little on the money and doesn't really work. Hidden Fates works much better. Shining Fates, I think, is a solid C or B. I think it's C just because it's not very interesting. I think it's definitely like a lower C. Like I'd put it below. I'd put it above Aquapolis. I like it more than Aquapolis, but it's also like a nothing name. It just tells you exactly what you're gonna get. And to finish off Sun and Moon, we have Cosmic Eclipse. Sick name, Cosmic Eclipse. Obviously, Cosmic is like the sky above us, and this is a Solgaleo Lunala tag team set. So yeah, Cosmic Eclipse makes so much sense. Eclipse, that's the combination of the sun and the moon. You got that double meaning in there. The other Pokemon, it doesn't really fit as much for, like Blastoise, Piplup, I can see on the pack art there. Trying to remember who else was even in the set as one of the main tag teams. It's been a while since I've even thought about this set. It's another Rowlet one, right? Is this the Slowpoke and Psyduck one? I don't know. I'm just trying to spitball here because it's another S tier. I think it's even better than Celestial Storm. I think it's even better than... I think it's better than Plasma Storm. Because that double meaning of both Cosmic Eclipse, like it's an eclipse in the cosmic atmosphere, as well as Eclipse being just the perfect word for the combination of Sun and Moon, the combination of Solgaleo and Lunala as a tag team. Eclipse because, you know, they're covering each other's backs, and Eclipse is when the moon goes in front of the sun, or vice versa. It's just a really great name for a set, and a great way to end off Sun and Moon. As for Sword and Shield, one of the weaker names for a game, I think. It's better than X and Y. I like it more than Heart Gold, Soul Silver. Does it go much higher than that? What's the next one I put? EX Ruby and Sapphire, I think must be the next one on here. Yeah, it looks like it. Sword and Shield. It's like a mouthful. I don't know. Like Sun and Moon, it flows out the tongue. Black, white, flows out the tongue. Even like an XY flows out the tongue. Sword and Shield. I feel like I'm like making a lot of different sounds with my mouth. I feel like I'm spitting everywhere when I say sword and shield. You know? Like I feel like it's a lot just to say the name of the set. Is it D tier? Sword and Shield. I get it because a knight has a sword and a shield, right? Zacian and Zamazenta. What do you mean they represent a sword and a shield? What? No, I'm kidding. Obviously they represent a sword and a shield. But it's just, I don't know. It's C. It's fine. I don't think it's D. I think it works for what it is. It's just, it's not, it doesn't flow off the tongue that well. It just kind of sits in my mouth like a rock. I think because of that, I think it's like, do I like it more than Shining Fates? No, I don't. I think Aquapolis Skyridge is better. Triumphant. Heart Gold, Soul Silver, Triumphant? No, I think it's better than that. I think it's less of a mouthful than Heart Gold, Soul Silver, Triumphant. You know how many different words I just said there? Rebel Clash. Rebel Clash? What, like we're rebelling against somebody and we're clashing? God, it has to be one of the worst set names they've ever done, right? Rebel Clash? That doesn't tell me anything. It's a set themed around the Galar starters as VMAXs and like Toxtricity, right? Rebel Clash. Which one of those is rebellious? The starters are, if anything, are like extremely loyal because they're starter Pokemon. And Toxtricity? Rebel? Is it because it's like a rock star, so it's like rebelling? And then Clash. That's just like one of the most generic words for fighting they could have picked. I don't know. That's really bad. That's like worse than Emerging Powers bad. Like I think it's better than Great Encounters because no, actually I don't. I don't think it's better than Great Encounters. Great Encounters, as terrible as a name that is, it still feels like a Pokemon set name. Great Encounters. Sure, I get it. Rebel Clash gives me nothing, and it just doesn't sound good either. It's better than EX Dragon, but that's EX Dragon, so it's not saying that much. As for Darkness Ablaze, so I like the word ablaze. It was like Burning Shadows. I said I liked a different term than burning, and they gave me it here. They gave me ablaze. I don't like darkness though, because there's Obsidian Flames later, which is a better name. Honestly, if this was Obsidian Ablaze, no, that'd be stupid. Actually, saying it out loud, no, that would be dumb. I don't like Obsidian Flames either, but we'll wait on that one until Scarlet and Violet. But Darkness Ablaze, I don't like darkness. I think if it was like what's like another word for darkness? Um, I guess it's supposed to be like the darkest day, right? Like because it's Eternamax Eternatus, so the darkest day, Darkness Ablaze. Actually, maybe that makes more sense than I thought. I still don't like it. I don't like the word darkness. And then Ablaze is obviously VMAX Charizard, one of the other main Pokemon in the set. You know what? Sure, it's B. I talked myself out of it with that whole darkest day thing. I think it's like very much a low B. I think it's like below Crimson Invasion, but I think it works. Darkest day. Ablaze is a much cooler word for fire. Sure, it can be a B tier. Champion's Path. So I like this one, Champion's Path, because it's themed around all of the Galar gym leaders. You know, you have all of their aces as the main Pokemon in the set. Cool. You also have like the pin collections that have like the gym leaders' badges on them. Again, cool. It makes sense with the name Champion's Path. Also, in the games, Champion's Path is what the player takes. So, like, in Sword and Shield, which is where this set is placed, in order to become the champion, you must take the Champion's Path. You must defeat all 8 gym leaders. You must defeat the Elite Four, even though there wasn't an Elite Four in Sword and Shield, but you know what I mean. And then you have to defeat the champion. So you have to take the path to become the champion. I don't think it's an S tier name because it is still Champion's Path at the end of the day. It doesn't sound the best off of the tongue, but it's definitely an A tier. It's like, say what you will about the set, again, because it isn't a great set. The name is really good. Like, the name might be like, I think it gets this, I think it's just a better version of Gym Challenge, because Gym Challenge is also what you do in the games. Champion's Path is what the player does in the games. I think they're very similar in that regard, and I think it's actually just a better name for a set themed around like gym leaders and champions and stuff. As for Vivid Voltage, I like the alliteration. Vivid Voltage. You have the 3 V's, Vivid Voltage. I think that's a cool name, just from like a pronunciation aspect. And then obviously Voltage, G-Max Pikachu. It's vivid because lightning is bright. Fun fact. Fun fact of the day with me, lightning is in fact bright. Yeah, it's a good name. I mean, it doesn't go much deeper than that. There's no like triple or quadruple meaning, but Vivid Voltage, it's fun to say. It has a lot of alliteration going for it. Because of that, I'll give it an A. I'll give it like a put it like above Black and White. Yeah, it's a good spot for it. Next up is Battle Styles, I believe is next. No, Shining Fates, but we already talked about that one. So yeah, Battle Styles. Battle Styles, because there's 2 different battle styles in the set. You have Rapid Strike and Single Strike. Sure, it's just a little bit too on the nose. Like, yeah, Battle Styles. I don't know. Because they're fighting, so it's a battle, and they each use different styles. I don't know, you're just saying the same thing as the set. I think it's a D tier. I think it's like it's a high D because it works for what it is, but it's also just not really a great name. And I'm realizing now that there is, like, we'll say that B to S is like the names I think are good, These are like purely mediocre. I'm pretty sure there's more set names that I think are bad actually than ones that I think are good. I mean that can still be turned around, but just interesting to note that as we're going along. Chilling Reign. So Rain is spelled like the reign of a king because Calyrex is like the king of the harvest, right? That's like the whole lore. He's also the king on his loyal steed. It works really well for Ice Rider Calyrex because chilling rain isn't that literally Ice Rider Calyrex's ability anyway? It gets like chilling rain or chilling nay or something like that. So like I see where they got the name from. But remember, this is a set split between Ice Rider Calyrex and Shadow Rider Calyrex, as well as the three birds. And I suppose the birds could be kings, and Chilling Rain does work for Galarian Articuno, because, well, it's not an ice type, it does use, like, its, like, Frozone mask thing to freeze people. So sure, Chilling Rain makes sense. But that leaves you with Zapdos, Moltres. Moltres really doesn't fit, considering it's a inflamed bird. And, Shadow Rider Calyrex. So only get 2 of the 5 pack arts for this set as actual, makes sense with the name. But I really like the word reign here, because again, Calyrex is the king, so he is reigning across the land. It also makes sense like chilling rain. Like if I go outside and the weather's raining, then it could be chilling rain. Like I guess snow could technically be called chilling rain. So it kind of has a double meaning. I also just like the name of the set, so sure, it doesn't match every Pokemon in the set, but I think it is still an A tier. And I think it's definitely a higher A tier as well. I think it could put it like maybe above like a Flash Fire, which I think can actually drop a little bit. I'd put Flash Fire down just a little bit. Yeah, it's a great name for a set, even if it doesn't perfectly match every single aspect of the set. Evolving Skies. Evolving Skies. Skies, like Rayquaza, evolving because of Eevee, because Eevee can evolve into anything. So, well, not anything, but it gets the 8 evolutions. You know what I mean. So, Evolving Skies. I think it's fine. Evolving, it works. It's much better than Eevee Grove that we'll talk about with Pocket later. I think there's a bit of nuance there, but also Skies. I don't remember if I said it with Roaring Skies because, again, 2 weeks ago. So I don't know what I said about it back then, but I don't really like the word skies. It just, like, there's one sky. And I don't know if it's just a me thing, but saying, like, oh, we're gonna sail in the skies. I don't know if anybody's ever said that ever, but let's pretend they actually did. I think that's stupid, because what skies, plural, are we going to? There's only one sky. If it was evolving sky, it would be stupid, but it would be better. It would make more sense if it was roaring sky. I think that would also make more sense than roaring skies, because there's only one sky. And then evolving, sure, I know because it's an Eevee themed set that it's because Eevee can evolve into anything, but evolving, most Pokemon evolve. You know, I would say like a solid 65% of Pokemon evolve at least once. So I don't know, I think that's a little low actually. It's probably closer to like 75. So evolving could be anything. This could be a starter themed set for all I know. This could be like a Rowlet themed set, like because Decidueye can fly, so it could be he's evolving because he's a starter and it teaches you about evolution and he's in the sky. Like I don't see how this name really brings me to the fact that it's an Eevee and Rayquaza themed set. So again, remember we're not talking about the sets themselves. I think Evolving Skies is maybe like a high C at best. I think it's probably better than like Team Rocket Returns, but I do like Unbroken Bonds more. Actually, Unbroken Bonds, I think it was a little harsh. I'll bump it up to like low B. It's much better than like Legendary Treasures, Evolving Skies, Team Rocket Returns. Like, yeah, no, it's much better. I was a little too harsh on it. It's still good. It's not better than good because remember B is like my good tier. Yeah, I think I was a little harsh on that. Evolving Skies though, yeah, not my favorite name. Celebrations, I've alluded to a couple times before. I don't think they ever came up with a better name for a set. I think it's bottom of S tier, and I know that's a weird choice because at the end of the day, it is literally just celebrations. Oh, we're celebrating, that's it. And obviously, it's because we're celebrating the 25th anniversary of Pokemon. But why celebrations works and stuff like generations and evolutions don't work, and even like the 30th anniversary collection set, which is one of the dumbest names I've ever heard, by the way. We'll get there, I promise. But celebrations just work so well because it's simple. It goes with the Ian's theme. You know, you had generations and evolutions, and now you have celebrations. So it's like the rule of threes where it works because that's what we associate with these like celebratory sets. But celebrations work so well because we're just celebrating the entire history of the card game, you know? We have 25 reprints from like the greatest, most playable, most iconic cards in Pokemon history, alongside 25 of the box art legendary Pokemon from the set and like Pikachu in there too. So like it really doesn't get any more celebratory than that. And I think it's just flawless name for a set. It's so simple. It probably didn't take them very long at all to come up with, but I think it truly is one of the best names for a set that they've ever come up with. Which probably cannot also be said about Fusion Strike. Fusion Strike is bad. Really bad. Fusion Strike is, I believe, what they literally just call the gimmick, because it's Rapid Strike, Single Strike, and Fusion Strike. So, like, they literally just ripped the name of the gimmick of the set and made it just the name of the set overall. And honestly, the name Fusion Strike doesn't tell me anything. I think Fusion, what do I think? I think Pokemon that can be fused together. I'm thinking, oh, is this a Black Kyurem and White Kyurem set? Is this a Ultra Solgaleo and Ultra Necrozma set? No, it's not. It's a Mew set. What? How does that make any sense with a Fusion Strike? And then Strike is also just a super generic thing to use. Like, it's not interesting in the slightest. So, yeah, no, Fusion Strike, it's probably going in F tier, to be honest. It's really bad. It's down there. It's worse than Double Crisis. It's probably worse than Emerging Powers. Like, Sword and Shield Fusion Strike is just such a terrible name for a set. And, like, I know Fusion Strike was hated in its time. It's had a bit of a resurgence because people realized that the Alt-Art Gengar is really cool and valuable, and, like, the Espeon VMAX is really cool as well. So, like, I love the set. Other people have come around on the set. But Fusion Strike is not selling me on anything. The way that I see, like, oh man, I can't wait to open Chilling Rain or XY Flash Fire, Delta Species, XY Roaring Skies. I don't get that same kind of like, oh my god, what a sick name with Fusion Strike. You know, it's just bad. It's just not good. Brilliant Stars. Brilliant Stars. So, like, the stars are brilliant because they're bright. I guess brilliant could also mean intelligent, but considering it's a Charizard set and a Whimsicott set, and there's like Drampa in the set, you know, I don't see how many of those Pokemon are like brilliant in the sense that they probably don't have more than like 5 brain cells, especially considering they're animals, and animals usually have pretty small brains, so maybe, I guess you could argue Arceus. Brief cut, I was, saying incorrect things about religion that I wanted to cut out of the video intentionally. God, in most religions, is not known for being bright. It is known for being like this holy being who watches over all. At least in like Christian and Catholic religions mostly, which is what I am most familiar with, even though I am not in the slightest religious, but just from what I know from the very basics of the small amount of religion I've been exposed to. Also, to get away from that, because I'm very unqualified to talk about religion, so moving on very quickly. Also, because this is a Pokemon name ranking video, so why am I talking about religion? Brilliant Stars is because Arceus is, like, in the sky. You know, it's supposed to be God, it's supposed to be brilliant, it's supposed to be a star. Sure, you also have V-Star cards. Sure, stars, they're brilliant. Whatever, I think it's a C tier set, I think it's fine, I think it works. I just don't think it's very good, you know? Brilliant Stars, like, it sounds cool. It's very unique. I don't think there's a single other set that sounds like it, but it's also just not very, exciting. You know, like, the double meanings it does have are just super basic, you know? Stars could mean stars literally in the sky because of Arceus, or it's because of V stars. You know, that's not a very exciting reason to have stars in the title. Astral Radiance. So to be radiant is to be like sparkly, right? And then obviously you have the radiant cards in the set. Let's look up the definition of radiant real quick. Radiant is an adjective that describes something sending out rays of light, emitting energy as radiation, or glowing with joy and confidence. So it's obviously sending out rays of light. It's not the confidence part. Yeah, I guess you could say that about Legends Arceus, because this is a very Legends Arceus themed set. So you have, like, Origin Form Dialga Palkia, sure. I guess they're emitting light, technically. Astral, because of space. That doesn't really make much sense to me, because Dialga and Palkia are the gods of time and... well, space. Actually, no, I was incorrect. So it actually works very well for Palkia. Never mind. Sometimes I start talking and then realize I'm wrong and should shut up. Okay, I get it then. Astral because space because Palkia. Got it. Radiance because they're bright, I guess, and because of Radiant Pokemon in the set. It's fine. I'm just going to put it in C, right next to Brilliant Stars. I don't feel strongly one way or the other about either of those names. Pokemon Go. Pokemon Go. Weird one. I think it's another, like, Detective Pikachu set, where it's literally a collaboration with the Pokemon Go games. And, I mean, what else are you gonna call it? You want to get all the casuals who point at the shelf and say, oh my god, I know Pokemon Go. I love playing Pokemon Go on my phone. And for them to just buy the cards. That's all you want with the set. And for that, it works perfectly. Goes right next to Base Set and Detective Pikachu that have the same thing going for them. Like, what else would you call them? And then it's Lost Origin, I believe. So Lost Origin, because Lost Zone, again, much like Lost Thunder. And then Origin, like Origin Form Giratina. Also, like, maybe the origin of time or the origin of the Lost Zone. I could see either of those arguments being made. But, I think it's better than Lost Thunder. Lost Origin feels a lot more intentional. Feels like much cooler of a name, like they thought about it much more. Lost Thunder feels like they literally slapped Lost and they're like, oh, well, Zeraor's the main guy, Thunder. Sure, he makes lightning. Lost Origin feels a lot more like hand-picked out to sound A, cool, and B, to fit the whole, like, Giratina aspect of the set. And for that, I think it's definitely a tier above Lost Thunder. So I think it's a very high... I'll give it an A. I was going to say B, but I don't see why I shouldn't give it an A. It works. Lost Zone plus Origin Form Giratina, and it's a cool name. Sword and Shield Lost Origin is just objectively cool to say. So sure, I'll put it above Guardians Rising and Hidden Legends. I think it could be an A tier. Silver Tempest. I'm going to have to look up what a Tempest is. I believe it's like a rainstorm, right? Tempest definition. If it is, that works very well. It is a violently windy storm often accompanied with rain, hail, or snow. Works beautifully because the main Pokemon of the set is Lugia. And Lugia is known for causing rain. In Heart Gold Soul Silver, I believe it caused rain when it first emerged. In the anime, I'm sure at multiple points it's caused rain. So, like, this Pokemon is known for causing terrible rainstorms. Tempest is just a cool way to say rainstorm. So in that regard, cool name. As for Silver, I don't really get it. I know Silver is technically a color. Like, Silver can be a shade of gray, but to me, Silver is a metal more than a color. Like, you know, I think of like, oh, I'm going to mine silver versus like, oh, I can't wait to paint with the color silver. I say I'm going to paint with the color gray. I think it works. I think it's still an A tier just because of how good Tempest is for a name. And silver does mean white or like light gray at the end of the day. So yeah, I get it. If it's Lugia, if it's like Alolan Vulpix, V-Star, which is the other main guy in the set. Yeah, I guess you could also make the argument that like Regidrago, Regieleki, some of the other big guys in the set, they also cause rainstorms. Obviously, Regieleki is known for causing like lightnings or thunder strikes. Thunder strikes is not a word, but pretend it is because it sounds cool. They're known for causing like lightning, which happens during a tempest. And Regidrago does stuff as well. that I'm sure also relates to rainstorms. So I think that's actually a very great name for a set. I'd put that high A. I think that's like I don't know if it's S, but it's definitely like mm, yeah, I'd put it below Gym Challenge, I think. I think Gym Challenge and Champion's Path are weird because they work so well as Pokemon sets. But Silver Tempest works much better as like a, oh, there's like a double meaning to it. You know what? Screw it. S tier. I'm feeling generous. Let's put Silver Tempest up there. I like it. I think it's better than Celebrations. Again, Celebrations is good, but at the end of the day, it's super simple. Silver Tempest. Tempest is just such a perfect word they could use to describe this set. Crown Zenith, though. Crown, as in like the thing a king wears, and then Zenith is like a fictional weapon, right? Obviously, it's in Terraria. I know that, but it probably has an actual definition. It does. Okay, a zenith is the highest point or peak of something, often referring to the point in the sky directly above an observer or the ultimate pinnacle of a person's career or success. Crown Zenith. So it's Zacian and Zamazenta, the main guys in the set. Obviously, you have like the whole Galarian Gallery, which themes the whole thing around Sword and Shield. So Crown definitely makes sense because Zacian and Zamazenta are like the kings of Galar in the past, I believe. I'm trying to remember the story of Sword and Shield. It was so bad, so it's like hard to remember. But like they were the kings trying to stop Eternatus, right? They were like the king's dogs, I believe was the lore there. So crown as in like the crown that the king wears. Okay, makes sense to me. Zenith being the highest point. Is it because it's the last Sword and Shield set? So it's like the highest, it's the peak of the Sword and Shield era, you know, it's the best of. In that regard, I think it works very well. Zenith is in like the sky or anything else that it meant, like the highest point in a person's career. It doesn't make much sense other than the fact that it's Zenith as in the highest point of the era. So I think it's either a B or a C. I think just Crown Zenith. I think that screams to me C tier. I think it's probably a higher C tier. It's probably like a little bit below like Platinum. That's above Lost Thunder. It can live there. Crown Zenith can live there. It's just not like a. It doesn't really roll off the tongue that well. And finally, not finally, let's talk about Scarlet and Violet. This is the last main base set we're going to talk about. Obviously, Mega Evolution is a base set, but it's not like the name of a game, and then Pocket too, but that's very different. So, Scarlet and Violet, I think it's actually one of the better names. I don't think it's as good as Sun and Moon or Black and White. Those are still probably my favorite Pokemon game names that they've ever done. But Scarlet and Violet is definitely better than, like, Sword and Shield. It's definitely better than XY. It's definitely better than Diamond and Pearl. Is it? No. No, actually, I don't think it is better than Diamond and Pearl. I think it's better than EX Ruby and Sapphire. I think it's better than EX Fire Red. So I think that by default means it's a B tier name. Obviously, Scarlet and Violet super simply just means Koraidon is red, Miraidon is purple. That's literally as deep as the name goes, I believe. You can correct me if I'm wrong in the comments, but I believe that's as deep as it goes. Because of that, I will put it, I'll just put it above EX Ruby and Sapphire. Works for me. Paldea Evolved. So, there's two sides of me right now. On one hand, I always thought Paldea Evolved was one of the stupidest names they've ever done because it's super on the nose. Paldea Evolved. It is the evolved form of the Paldea starters. How did they come up with that name? That's so creative and original. But on the other hand, it works. Paldea Evolved, it is the evolved form of the Paldean starters. It's not lying to you, you know? It's telling you exactly what you're going to get. So on one hand, I want to put it in F because it's a terrible, awful name. On the other hand, I want to put it in D because at least it tells me what the set is. And unfortunately, as much as I really hate the name of this set, I'm going to give it the lowest spot in D because yes, at the end of the day, it makes sense. And it's Paldea. It's the Paldea region. It's only the second set. We're still getting accustomed to the Scarlet and Violet era. Sure, whatever. Bottom of D. Enjoy it. Obsidian Flames. I like the word obsidian. I think it's a really cool way to say something is like dark in color, at least, because obviously you have a terrestrial dark type Charizard, which is like pitch black. So cool. Obsidian is a cool way to say something is pitch black. Awesome. Flames, though, we're looping back around to the whole Burning Shadows thing, where I think they could have picked a much better name than Flames. I think if this was Obsidian Blaze, I think that'd be a much better name. I think if it was Obsidian Inferno, that would be an awesome name, which I'm pretty sure they actually did in Japan, right? Wasn't this called like Pitch Black Inferno in Japan? I think it's honestly a much better name. If this was, they just combined those names to be Obsidian Inferno, I think it'd be much better than Obsidian Flames. As is, I think it's still a C because it does get brownie points for the Obsidian part. It's a really cool name, never been seen before in a card set. But it does definitely get knocked down for the Flames part of the name. And I think that evens out to around like the Lost Thunder area. I think it's worse than Crown Zenith. 151. Weird one. How do I rank 151? Obviously, it is a set themed around the original 151. The name does not go any deeper than that. And obviously, I guess they could have called it like Scarlet and Violet Generation 1, but I'm really glad they didn't. 151 is like, everybody knows that there was 151 original Pokemon. Well, maybe not everyone. Like, I'm sure my grandma doesn't know that. But, like, everybody who is watching this video understands that there was 151 Pokemon in the original generation. So, most kids and people like me, grown men going out to the store to buy cards, understand that 151, oh, it's a Gen 1 themed set. So in that way, I think it works very well. As a name, like, obviously I'm not going to name my kid 151 because I'm not Elon Musk, so I can't get away with something like that, but it works, and it works well. I think that's an A tier. If I'm going to give Celebrations an A, or an S, actually, for being just a perfect summation of what the set is and also sounding good, I think I have to do the same for 151. Well, it's not as flawless as Celebrations. I think it definitely is like a mid-A. It's definitely like a it's probably better than Noble Victories. I think it just works super well for a Gen 1 themed set. Alright, and then we got Paradox Rift. So, Paradox because Paradox Pokemon, and Rift, for some reason, is it because of the Time Machine? I guess spoilers for Scarlet and Violet if you haven't played them. Spoilers for a 3-year-old Pokemon 4. Coming up on 4, actually, by the time this video goes out. Spoilers for about 4-year-old Pokemon game. At the end of the game, Sada or Taro opens the Time Machine, and that brings all the Paradox Pokemon to the present. At least that's what it is in lore. So is it the Rift that it's like the Rift in Time that they opened up? And it's Paradox because it's Paradox Pokemon? I guess it works. That's fine. It's a C tier. I don't know. We're at the point where if it just works and it's not exciting, then it goes in C tier. Because C is like fine, you know, C works. And actually, I think we're going to do a little bit of rearranging now because I don't really like my C tier. Paradox Rift I think is a lower one. So I think a couple of these could be moved up to very low B. I think Evolving Skies is a very low B because it's a fine name. I think Dragon's Exalted, same thing, very low B. That might be it. I think Brilliant Stars moves up to the top of C. Same thing with Astral Radiance. Maybe Neo Revelation is a little bit better though. Neo Revelation. I don't still like that set. Yeah, Deoxys, I can move that. Phantom Forces, I think that could be a very low B. I'm okay with moving that one up a little bit. Maybe like there. Let's drop... I'm going to drop Triumphant down. 8, Heart Gold, Soul Silver, Triumphant. Triumphant. It just doesn't sound as good. Like, I get the double meaning there, but it's just not my favorite name. I'll drop Skyridge down to D as well. Again, it's not my terribly favorite set, and it's not my favorite set ever. I definitely prefer Aquapolis over it. And I think I'm much more happy with that C tier. So a couple got moved up, a couple moved down. Such is the nature of life, I suppose. Temporal Forces. What does temporal mean? Is it the same as Tempest? Or is it different? Temporal definition. Temporal is an adjective that primarily means relating to time or concerned with present life and this physical world. Describes from the Latin word tempus, meaning time. It could also mean in a religious or philosophical context. It refers to the earthly life and material concerns as opposed to eternal or spiritual matter. Or it could also mean in medicine biology, it relates to the temples or the sides of the skull behind the eyes. I think it might be the second one, the religious context where it's like earthly life, because this set is themed around the Paradox Legendaries, which is the Swords of Justice, which is Iron Leaves, Iron Crown, and Iron Boulder, and then the Dogs, which is Walking Wake, Gouging Fire, and Raging Bolt. So in a way, I guess it could be like the natural world, like how we're going to evolve into robots and how we came from dinosaurs. So if that's where we're going with temporal, then sure. Forces, it's fine. Forces works. I think it worked much better in Phantom Forces because you had Aegislash as one of the main Pokemon, and like forces could be like forces of an army. In this context, temporal forces, like the forces of nature, doesn't really make sense, especially when we literally have legendary Pokemon called the Forces of Nature with Tornadus, Thundurus, and Landorus. So it feels a bit inaccurate in that regard. I think it works. I think this is a high C because it's fine, but I just don't get where they got that name from. So I'll put it above Brilliant Stars, I suppose. All right, Twilight Masquerade. That is a mouthful, but honestly, really cool name, Twilight Masquerade, because in the Scarlet and Violet DLC, there was the festival, right? And the whole festival was themed around, it was around praising the Loyal Three, right, for defeating the Ogre in lore. So Twilight Masquerade and Ogre, oh, that's really good. That's an S tier. I'm just thinking about it in my head. Ogerpon wears masks, so it's a masquerade because that masquerade is a dance where you wear masks. The festival in the Scarlet Violet DLC is a masquerade because you have to wear like the ogre mask on your head before you can go. Wow, that's one that I didn't really click before. That's an S tier. That's a fantastic set name. That's like up there. That might be. Oh, is it better than Ancient Origins? I don't know. Ancient Origins, ooh, is it? I think just the masquerade aspect of the set, because Ogerpon wears masks and the masquerade is a ball. I think it's worse than Ancient Origins just because Twilight doesn't do as much for me. It's cool because obviously in Scarlet and Violet DLC, it takes place at Twilight. It takes place at like dusk. So sure. You also have like Blood Moon Ursaluna, which is like a kind of like a Twilight Pokemon. I guess if that makes any sense, because Twilight's like it's like a weird spot in time, right? It's like a weird time period. We'll look it up just to be sure. But yeah, that was like you could see the gears turning in my head when I was talking about it. I'm like, wow, what a great name. Let's look up the definition of Twilight. Twilight definition. The soft, diffused illumination of the sky that occurs when the sun is below the horizon. So yeah, that makes sense for when the sun's gonna set. It might be worse than Primal Clash. I like Primal Clash a lot, but I think Twilight Masquerade has more layers, and I honestly really like that set name. Shrouded Fable. Shrouded Fable. I feel like I have to scrunch my face and clog my nose when I say Shrouded Fable. You know, it's like, is it fine? I think it's bad. Shrouded Fable. Shrouded is a terrible word. It's just like, it's shrouded in mystery. Sure, it's a fable because a fable is like a story that you're supposed to take a lesson from. We're supposed to not judge Ogerpon by the cover. We're supposed to realize that the Loyal Three, the real bad guys. Okay, I understand where the fable comes from. Shrouded because, you know, it's old, so history gets covered up a lot, so Shrouded Fable. Okay. Doesn't mean I have to like the name. I think it's a D tier. I think it's top of D because it works. There's a meaning there. It's just not fun to say. As for Stellar Crown. Stellar Crown. I mean, it works because it's obviously the Stellar Terra type cards. It's a crown because the terrestrial phenomenon gives the Pokemon a crown. Terapagos wears a stellar crown and basically is a stellar crown. So yeah, okay, I understand it. It works. It's fine. It's a solid name. It's a B tier. I will put it in like middle of B. I think it's worse than Crimson Invasion, but better than Darkness Ablaze. Wow, where did that come from? Crazy how that just appeared out of nowhere. I definitely didn't forget to put that one in there. But we'll keep going with Prismatic first because that's the thought I started on. Let's look up what prismatic means. I know it's like to do with like light and diamonds and stuff, but I'm not sure the exact definition, so we'll look it up. Prismatic. Prismatic generally means relating to or made by a prism. Okay, optics and color describes light that has been separated into a vibrant spectrum like a rainbow by refraction. That's what it means. Okay. So obviously stellar Terra types makes them kind of rainbow and sparkly. So sure. Prismatic evolutions. Obviously evolutions, again, we're going with the EV. I think it's actually worse. Evolutions is worse than just saying evolving with evolving skies. Actually, I think this is just a worse version of Evolving Skies. Not only, like, set-wise, but also in terms of, like, the name. I think Evolving Skies is just a much better name for a set than Prismatic Evolutions. It's a lot of, like, syllables in there. Prismatic Evolutions. I'm not sure if that's exactly correct, but I still think that's, like, it's a bit of a mouthful. I also just don't like the set, so that definitely helps me put it lower. I think it works. I think it's C tier, but it's not the greatest thing ever, and it's by far not my favorite. So let's put it, we can go ahead and give this one a, I'm debating between C and B right now. I think it can easily go, ooh, why is this one so hard? Prismatic Evolutions. I think it's C. I think it's fine. I think it's like a lower C. I think it's like an Obsidian Flames kind of thing. It works. I understand prismatic because the rainbow refracting through the bodies of the evolutions. Okay, sure. Makes sense to me. Surging Sparks. Surging. Like a surging electrical outlet. Let's look up the definition of surging real quick. To increase suddenly and strongly, or to move quickly and powerfully in a forward direction, generally referring to electricity. Yeah, okay. I mean, they literally told me. Surging. So it, like, pushes towards something. Sparks, as in Pikachu, electric type. Sure, surging sparks. I don't know why. I think Vivid Voltage works better because the Vivid Voltage, you have that alliteration. And clearly they're trying to do the same thing here with surging sparks, but it just doesn't work as well. Surging sparks. Surging sparks. I don't like it. Honestly, I think it's a D tier. Like, it's not really one I thought about too much before, but it's just like, I think it's top of D tier, to be fair. I won't be too harsh on it. But Surging Sparks is just not, it's just not very good. We got Journey Together. Journey Together is a better version of Team Up because you're journeying together with the Pokemon. Obviously, this is a trainer-owned Pokemon set. I forgot Journey Together too? Really? Whoa, where did that one come from? Oh my god, I can't believe I forgot too. What a crazy guy. I should see it at the bottom there. Oh, this Hidden Legends, by the way, I accidentally had 2 in my folder, so I have 2 files of it now. Just pretend it's not there. Journeys Together. You're journeying together. It's a team up set. Obviously, this is like the return of trainer-owned Pokemon. You have like End, Lily, Hop, and Iono as the main guys in the set, and obviously it's their Pokemon that they own in the set. You're journeying together. You're watching the journey of Hop. You're watching the journey of End. They're journeying together with their Pokemon. Okay, I get it. It works. It's B. It's a good name. You know, it's not Silver Tempest or Twilight Masquerade or Ancient Origins, but it works for what it is. Actually, I think bottom of B is a perfect spot for it right there. Destined Rivals. I like the name, but in a way, it's almost kind of squandered because this is a Team Rocket themed set, right? So it is mainly revolved around the return of Team Rocket's owned Pokemon. And the name Destined Rivals, you were destined to be rivals. It makes me think more of like rivals themselves. I think if this set was like all of the rivals in the game, so you had like Blue and Barry and How and I guess it's a Scarlet Violet set, so we could also do like Nemona in there. If it was all those guys and their trainer of Pokemon, I think Destined Rivals would be a flawless name. As is, I mean, it works, but the fact that it's mostly either Team Rocket or Gym Leader Pokemon, there's Arven. I guess we can make an argument for Arven or like Marnie, that maybe those are the destined rivals in the set. But no, obviously it's mainly focused around like Team Rocket, Cynthia, and like Misty. So I'm gonna have to deduct points. I think it's still an A tier, but because I like the name Destined Rivals, it's an objectively really cool name. It's just that I don't know. I think it could be a little more descriptive. Because of that, I'm gonna put it below Lost Origin. Because I like the name, but doesn't really fit the whole Team Rocket aesthetic. Black Bolt and White Flare. I think Black Bolt, wherever they're going, is definitely much better because alliteration, Black Bolt. White Flare is fine. It works, but you don't have that alliteration. It's White Flare, it's two completely separate words. So I think there might be a tier separated, actually. I think Black Bolt, it's a Zekrom set. It's a remake of the original Black and White sets, Black Bolt. I think it's top of B. I think it's fine. It's super basic, so I can't rank it too much higher than like a Breakthrough Burning Shadows kind of area. But it works. And then I think White Flare is just fine. It kind of feels like they just slammed two words together. And I can kind of argue that with Black Bolt as well, but at least there's the alliteration there. And Black Bolt just sounds cooler than White Flare. So White Flare can go like mid-C, like maybe a little above Crown Zenith, sure. And people, we're on Mega Evolution. We are almost there. We have one row left. Mega Evolution base set. I hate it. I really, for a base set name, I think it's straight up awful. It's so, like, on the nose, and I get it. They couldn't have done, like, a game-themed set era because there's no new game out there. But even then, you have Legends ZA, which is what these mostly take inspiration from. You have Legends Arceus before it. Why not just make it like a Legends-themed era? That would be sick. That would be really, really cool. Instead, Mega Evolution. And Mega Evolution before every other set, like Mega Evolution Phantasmal Flames. It just kind of ruins the rest of them for me. Because it's really generic. They clearly didn't spend that much time thinking of the name. It's just bad. I'm sorry. Like, it's probably better than, like, Rebel Clash, but awful, genuinely awful name for a base set. Especially considering, I don't even like X and Y base set. I think that's a terrible name. X, Y, and then before the name of a set, I think is not very good, because it doesn't really flow into the rest of it. Mega Evolution is way worse, because at least X and Y was the name of the game. Mega Evolution, they had the potential to name this anything, and they chose Mega Evolution, so clearly, no. It's worse when it's like an intentional choice like that. As for Mega Evolution Phantasmal Flames, I know, I've said that I'm not a huge fan of flames being used as the word to describe fire, but Phantasmal Flames, I think, is actually much better than a lot of the other sets. I honestly think it's an A-tier set. It's not my favorite set ever. Again, we're not ranking it off of how good of a set it is. But Phantasmal Flames. You have Phantasmal because of Gengar. You have Flames because of Charizard. It's basic, I understand it, but Phantasmal. Really cool word that they haven't used before. They've used Phantom and Phantom Forces, which I also thought was a pretty cool word. Actually, I'm going to move Phantom Forces up a little bit. I don't know what I was smoking when I put it so low. But Phantom Forces, you have Gengar, Phantom Forces, Aegislash. I think it's actually a really cool name. I'll put it like here. I'm moving it up a lot, actually. But Phantasmal Flames. Phantasmal is just a really cool word, and it works well with Flames, because you have like the PH and the F, Fan and Flames. So it's not like quite the same, but it makes around the same sound. I think it works pretty well. I think it's probably better than Flashfire. I'm going to put it right next to it, with the two Charizard X's right next to each other. Ascended Heroes. I think the word heroes works well because obviously this is a set themed around a lot of like iconic reprinted cards. You have like the trainer of Pokemon back, like N. N is a hero, quote unquote. He is a hero in the sense that he's not a bad guy, I suppose. But you have that. You also have like Mega Dragonite's the main guy. Obviously, he's flying, so he's ascended. He's also a hero because it's Dragonite. He could do no wrong. But like the other cards, like Mega Lucario, Mega Dragonite, Mega Gardevoir, these are like the quote unquote heroes because they're the greatest cards of the past few sets. That being said, not my favorite name overall. Ascended Heroes. It just doesn't really work for me. I think it's like a Surging Sparks thing where it just doesn't flow that well. I think it's better than Surging Sparks. I think Surging Sparks, I could actually. I'm going to argue Surging Sparks could be like a very low C. I don't think it's that bad. I don't like it, but at least it has the alliteration. You have the Sparks from Pikachu, Surging. I guess you could argue it's because Latios is flying around. Sure. Ascended Heroes, it really only fits Dragonite with the Ascended part. Maybe Charizard, arguably. But, Heroes is a good word. That definitely saves it from being lower down or F tier. It just doesn't really flow. Perfect Order. Don't like it. Perfect Order. Ooh. So, it's Zygarde, obviously. I don't see how that has to do with order, though. Like, at all? Order? What is order? Like, perfect order. Like, you're commanding somebody. You're giving them an order. And it's perfect, because Zygarde is complete form. It's his Mega Evolution. So he's like this perfect being, I suppose. So it's perfect order. I don't know, dude. I think that's an F tier. I think it's a bad name. I think it's I think it's probably the best in F tier. But perfect order just doesn't tell me anything. It doesn't tell me who the Pokemon in the set are. It doesn't fit for the Pokemon I know are in the set, like Clefable, Starmie, even Zygarde, which I made an argument for. It doesn't fit super well. I think for Zygarde, if you had like something about cells or like nature, I think that would have been a much better name than Perfect Order. And yeah, moving on from that, we got Chaos Rising. Another stinky one. Chaos Rising. Yeah, not my favorite. What is Chaos? You know, it's Greninja. The main set's about Greninja. You also have, like, Dragalge, Pyroar, Mega Dragalge, and I believe the last one is Mega Floette, right? What about that is Chaos? If anything, the Floette is bringing order. It would have made more sense to be in perfect order. Greninja is a starter Pokemon. Again, should be pretty loyal to its trainer. You have Pyroar, which is a lion. So I guess you could say that the lion is causing chaos, and Dragalge gives people cancer. So I guess that's also chaos, I suppose. But Chaos Rising, I don't get it. I don't understand where that name comes from. Because of that, I'm gonna give it like a D. I think it works. I think chaos is a good word. I think it was unfortunately wasted on this set. Rising is just like, it's generic. It worked for like Guardians Rising or Rising Rivals because those fit the theme of like rising up to a challenge. Chaos Rising? No, actually, screw it. I'm giving this one F2. I actually like Perfect Order more. Maybe I'll switch them. Maybe I'll give Perfect Order a like a low D, and then Chaos Rising an F, because at least Perfect Order you could make an argument for Zygarde. I don't see a single argument for Chaos Rising. And then Pitch Black. Don't like it. Again, we're ending on a real whimper here with the main sets anyway. Pitch Black. I get it. It's Darkrai. It's dark, but it's pitch black, you know? It's stupid. It's just nothing. Pitch Black. It should be like Pitch Black something, you know? Like Pitch Black is the first part of the name. It's not a complete name. It's like if the set's name was John, you know, if you just met a John in real life. Like, okay, you're John. John who? What's your last name? And you're like, oh, no, it's just John. You're like, really? Just John? No, you can't just name it Pitch Black. It's got to be like Pitch Black Nightmare or something. You know, Pitch Black, it's just incomplete, you know? That's not a good name for a set. You need something else to finish it off. Because of that, I guess it works. It's fine. It's competent. I understand Pitch Black is because of Zygarde. Not Zygarde. It's because of Darkrai. So, sure, Pitch Black. But it's Pitch Black Nightmare. It's Pitch Black Dream. You know, it's got to be something else. Pitch Black is the first part of the word. It's not the whole thing. Let's talk about 30th Anniversary Collection and... Ooh, was it Mega... It was... Ooh, what is the new Rayquaza one they just announced? Is it Delta Stream? New Pokemon sets 2026. Let's see what comes up. Pokemon TCG expansions. Is it on here? No, it's not on here. Okay. I believe it was Mega Evolution Delta Stream? Delta Rain. Delta Rain. Okay. Delta Rain. What do I think of Delta Rain? Obviously, I don't have the image for it yet because it was literally announced today as of filming this. But Delta Rain... It's Delta because Rayquaza, Delta Stream, and then Rain, like Chilling Rain, is because of a king. But Rayquaza isn't really a king. I don't know what other Pokemon are in the set to compare it to. I literally just know it's Rayquaza. That's the only card they showed. So just going off of that, I would put it in C, just because I would have to see what the rest of the set is to judge it. And then 30th Anniversary Collection, that's an F tier, right at the bottom. I'd put it in between... I would put it right above Base Set 2 below Dragon, just because that feels like an untranslated name. You know, that feels like the code name, or like the Japanese name for the set. 30th Anniversary Collection, like that is not a finished name. That's terrible. And finally, we can actually get back onto the ranking itself. We can talk about pocket sets real quick. Genetic Apex. Genetic Apex works really well for Mewtwo, because obviously Mewtwo is created in a lab, so it's the apex of genetics. It's a clone of Mew, so I understand it. Doesn't fit as well for Charizard or Pikachu, which are the other cards in the set. It's also mainly focused around Generation 1 because it's the first set in Pocket. It's basically their base set. So, I think it's an A. No, I don't think it's an A. I think it's a B because I think Genetic Apex works really well for Mew. But not so much for Charizard, not so much for Pikachu. Because of that, I will put it... I think it's one of the better ones here. I'll put it like above Breakthrough, sure. Mythical Island. It's an island of mythical Pokemon. It's fine. No, actually, Mythical Island... It's a bit too on the nose. You know, you gotta have a little bit of nuance. And I think my Apple News just went off. Hope that didn't catch on the mic. It's fine, I guess. No, it's either C or D. I'll put it lower. We'll put it like below Rising Rivals, I suppose. It's just not very exciting. It doesn't give you much of anything. It's literally what you see is what you get. You got Mythical, you got Island. It's Mythical Island. I guess I can go a little bit. Yeah, I don't know. Sure, we'll leave it there, I guess. No, we won't, because we're separating generations and evolutions. Yeah, that's fine. Space-Time Smackdown. Space-Time Smackdown. That's a lot of words. Wow, look at that, I have Triumphant Light too. Okay, hopefully I'm not forgetting any other ones. Off the top of my head, I don't think I am. Okay, I think we're good from here on out. Let's just finish it. Space-Time Smackdown. A little on the nose again, just like Mythical Island. Space and time to Alcapelkia Smackdown. They're fighting. Meh. That's fine. I think it's better than Mythical Island. Mythical Island is very uninspired. I think Space-Time Smackdown is literally just fine. I think it works. I think it's like a team-up set, you know, where the name works. It's space, it's time, it's Smackdown, sure. Triumphant Light. Triumphant, to be victorious over something. And then Light. I don't really get it. Arceus? I guess it's because he's like the light. He's God. God's usually represented as like a light. Maybe. Triumphant because he always wins. I really don't understand that name. I think it's better than any other pocket name we've had so far. Maybe other than Genetic Apex. I think it's B. I think it's fine. I think it's like, probably bottom of B. Maybe a little bit better than Journey Together. It's fine. It's a cool name. Triumphant Light. I like the name, which is why I'm putting it high. I just don't get it in terms of Arceus. Shining Revelry? What is a revelry? I think like rivalry? Is that like that can't be what it means, right? Revelry definition. Revelry refers to a wild, noisy, and unrestrained merrymaking or partying. So it's like a shiny party? That is not at all what I thought the set name would be. Shiny Party. It's kind of funny actually when you think about it like that. Shining Party. No, that's cute actually because it's like they're bringing shiny Pokemon into Pocket for the first time, and it's a party. You know what? Okay, I like it much more now that I know what revelry means. I think it's another B tier. I think it's like I think it's probably better than like Gym Heroes. It can go there, I suppose. Celestial Guardians. Again, the use of Celestial. Very good word. And it's also Celestial Guardians. It's Solgaleo Lunalis. Celestial is the sun and moon, basically. It's like the stars, the planets. Guardians because Solgaleo is the guardian of the sun. Lunalis is the guardian of the moon. Honestly, they should use Celestial more often. I think this is an S tier. I think it's literally I'm just gonna put it right. I'm gonna put it above Celestial Storm. I think Celestial Guardians makes more sense than Celestial Storm. Really cool name. They need to use Celestial more often because both sets that use it they both have really good names. We'll just say that. Extra Dimensional Crisis. Bit of a mouthful. Extra Dimensional. I guess the Ultra Beasts are from different dimensions, so sure. But extra dimensional? Why do they call it that? Because it's like extraterrestrial too. When something's from outer space, it's an extraterrestrial. So something's from a different dimension, it's an extra dimensional. It's just weird. Why is it an extra? Why isn't it just a terrestrial or a dimensional? I'm sure there's a reason I could look up for it, but it doesn't bother me that much. Extra dimensional crisis, it works. I like the word extra dimensional. It's a big word. Makes me feel smart for talking about it. And yeah, I'll put it low B. I think it's better than Triumphant Light. I think it's better than Revelry. I think it can sit right. I think it's better than Stellar Crown. Actually being right next to Crimson Invasion makes a lot of sense. Actually, I think it's a little bit less nuanced than Crimson Invasion, but I think it works better as a name than Crimson Invasion. It tells you it's Ultra Beasts. It sounds better off the tongue. Extra Dimensional Crisis. You know, it just sounds cooler. Wisdom of Sea and Sky. Poopy name. Why is it called that? That's a terrible name. That's like, there's being on the nose, and then there's Wisdom of Sea and Sky. It's like, oh, what is Lugia and Ho-Oh? Oh, they're the sea and the sky. Even though that's not really true, because I don't think Ho-Oh is really known for being in the sky. And Lugia really isn't known for being in the sea. Lugia is like in waterfalls, in caves, right? And then Ho-Oh is at the bell tower, which I guess, yeah, is like underground, underwater, and above ground in the sky. So maybe, still a stupid name. I think it's worse than Great Encounters. I think it's worse than Mega Evolution. I think it's better than Rebel Clash, but that's not saying much, because at least it tells you what the set is. Secluded Spring. Secluded Spring. I don't like it. It's like, it doesn't sound real, you know? Secluded Spring. Like, it sounds like a fake word, or like a fake set, I guess, which I guess it technically is because it's Pocket. Which I guess isn't like a fake set, it's like a digital set more than anything else. I forgot Deluxe Pack. I'll grab it in a second. But yeah, I really hate it. Secluded Spring? Secluded, like, you're hidden. Spring, like water, because it's a Suicune set, so you're secluded off a spring somewhere. I don't know. It's bad. Is it F tier? No. I think it's good enough to be in D. I think it's better than like those, but not by much. Wow, where did you come from? That's crazy. Okay, I'm not gonna make the joke a third time. I guess I already did though. Deluxe Pack EX. Stupid name. Pocket's on a bit of a bad streak right now, huh? It's probably what the Japanese pack was called. They probably didn't translate it. Deluxe Pack EX. It's a deluxe pack. Even though it's not really. Deluxe, you think of like a cheeseburger deluxe, right? You get the 2 patties. You think if something's deluxe, you think it's like premium. You get more than you usually get. I think there's deluxe packs on the actual card game that come with like 20 cards, right? In Japan. Deluxe pack only comes with 4. So, I get it. You get an EX in every pack, but is it really a deluxe pack? You know, it's probably like, probably better than Double Crisis, but it's not great. It's super boring. Mega Rising, you know what? Say what you will about it, it's better than Mega Evolution base set. Because of that, it's getting the bottom spot in D. I don't like it. Mega Rising, the Mega Pokemon are rising. Again, Rising Rivals, Guardians Rising, worked super well with Rising. Every time Pocket tried to use it with Mega Rising, and then, what was the other Rising one? Oh, I just talked about it. How did I already forget about it? I don't know. Point is, the first two Rising sets were really good, the last two, not so much. So, Crimson Blaze. Crimson Blaze. So it's like a weird baby of Crimson Invasion and, I guess there is no other Blaze set. I thought there was. Huh. Crimson Blaze. So Crimson is like a red color, right? We're gonna have to look this up because Charizard, Mega Charizard Y, is very much orange, but I'm pretty sure, if I remember my colors correctly, Crimson is a very dark red. So, I'll give it to you with Buzzwole because he's red. But Charizard is orange, my friend. That is not Crimson. Blaze, it's fine, but you're lying to me. You're just lying now. That's an F tier. Bro is orange. There's nothing red about him. Yeah, it's like Chaos Rising. Like, the name is just lying about what the set actually is. Alright. I forgot Fantastical Parade. Oh my god, I gotta stop forgetting these. Alright, Fantastical Parade. Fantastical Parade. Huge downgrade from Twilight Masquerade. Fantastical? That's just like such a fake word. It's, oh, the parade, it's fantastical. It's like, what are we doing? I don't know why. I thought I would like the pocket sets a lot more. Apparently I just threw him in here to clown on him without realizing it. Fantastical Parade, I think it's one of the better ones, actually. Because Parade, I get it, it's like a festival. Even though it's not really a parade, is it? It's a festival. You know, it's based on the festival from the Scarlet and Violet DLC, the Teal Mask. So why is it a parade? There's nothing parade-like about it. You know what? I talked myself into it. It's another F tier. It's lying. It's lying about the set name again. There's no parade. Charizard's not red. It's a festival, not a parade. And there is no chaos. Why are we just lying with the set names now? Paldean Wonders. What is their obsession with Paldea? Paldean Fates, Paldea Evolved, Paldean Wonders. No other region, not even like Kanto, has had like a single set named after them. Yet this is the third one that we've had for Paldea. And it's not even in the Scarlet and Violet era. We're like past it now. And we're still doing the Paldea stuff. I think honestly, it's the best of the three. I think it's a fine set. I think it's like C. I'll put it like below Team Up, sure. It's like bottom of C. But you gotta come up with some other words other than just Paldea or Paldean. Mega Shine? Guys, I'm sorry. I didn't want the end of this video to be so negative. Mega Shine is garbage, okay? I'm sorry. Where's it gonna go? Mega Shine is really bad. It's Shiny Mega Pokemon. Oh my god, how did they come up with that name? Yeah, I guess it's better than Shining Legends because it's not lying to me. But, not by much. It's a little bit too on the nose for me. Pulsing Aura? Pulsing? Like a vein? Lucario's pulsing? Aura? Okay, at least that word's not a lie. It makes sense. Aura is Lucario's whole thing. The set themed around Lucario. Okay. Pulsing. Like pulsating? I feel like pulsating Aura would have made more sense than pulsing Aura. That being said, it's not bad, actually. I'll give this one a B. It's really not the worst thing in the world. I think it's better than Revelry, so I'll put it there, I guess. Like, it could be a lot worse than Pulsing Aura. Obviously, we've seen the ones that are a lot worse than Pulsing Aura, but Pulsating Aura would make more sense to me. And finally, well, not finally, we still have, like, the Delta Stream set or whatever to talk about. The last pocket set out as of recording this, Paradox Drive. I guess it's Drive because, like, because they're bikes and you drive them around or you ride them around, either way. Paradox because Paradox Pokemon, and yeah, I guess Drive because of like a hard drive because of Miraidon because it's a robot maybe. Paradox Drive, you know what? It's not the worst thing in the world. I think it goes right next to Paradox Rift because at the end of the day they mean the same thing. And then we'll talk about what is it, Ruler of the Sky? You really want to end with me talking about Ruler of the Sky? Pokemon Pocket. Is that the name of the set? Yep, Ruler of the Skies. If I had the image for it, it would be going right next to Wisdom of Sea and Sky, literally right above it. And that, my friends, is every Pokemon card set based on the name. We'll do something a little bit fun here. We got 3, 6, 9, 10. Um, is that my top 10 that I want? Well, I guess we'll change S to just, we'll change it to my top 10 tier. And then we'll just move 1 down to A, I guess. And I think if I had to remove 1 from this, I would probably move... I like them all. I think Celebrations is not top 10, though. I think that definitely goes down to A. Is there anything I want to rearrange here? I think Cosmic Eclipse is better than Unseen Forces. I think Plasma Storm's towards the bottom. Celestial Guardian, Celestial Storm, I think is cooler than Legend Maker, and Silver Tempest has that edge. So that would be my top 10. So number 10, Plasma Storm. Number 9, Legend Maker. Number 8, Silver Tempest. 7, Celestial Storm. 6, Celestial Guardians. 5 is Unseen Forces. 4, Cosmic Eclipse. 3, Primal Clash. 2, Twilight Masquerade. And then number 1, my favorite set name they've ever done is Ancient Origins. And that's the list. Yeah, thank you very much for watching. Remember to take care of yourselves. Mental health is important. I'll see you all in my next episode, and ta-ta for now.